Debating with Christian Walker. Oh shit! Wow. I'm a little curious. It's an hour long. What are they talking about? I'm interested. Christian Walker used to be pretty big on TikTok. He was a pretty big meme on TikTok, is what I meant to say. So yeah, I mean that's all I got. There's nothing else to say about Christian Walker. I know he's like very conservative. His dad met Donald Trump. He loves Donald Trump. He's gay. So a lot of bad things about this guy. I'm just kidding. But yeah, sure. Let's just watch. Let's see what we got here.
Do you think white people are under attack?
I totally do. You're demented.
I will say one thing though. I think it's pretty cool that Hasan is having him on. I think that's pretty cool. That shows like a lot of like, okay, like we'll talk to the other side.
I think if in fact, no matter how
hopefully it's in good faith, but
hard they make it for minorities to vote,
Oh.
I think you're going to see them willing to stand in line.
You're not for the voting
and
rights.
defy
Voting
attempt.
rights. Oh, you mean having an ID to vote? Yeah.
No, but you say that.
But like, okay, I mean, no, Hasan's probably going to say the same thing, but like the voting ID thing is very interesting. And the reason is because it's such a crazy thing because the conservative argument. So one of the problems in some of like the progressive, I guess, like space is that a lot of times they treat all black people the same. Like every black person is the same. Like one black person somehow is a representative of all the black people in general. We have like, what, 40 something million black people in America. Right. So the understanding and one of the counter arguments, and this is true, is that black people aren't a monolith. Depending on where you grow up and how, where you grow up in general in the United States will dictate in general for anybody the way that you interact with people and the struggles that you have and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why the reason I bring this up is because when we talk about voter ID laws being systemically racist, it's not because every black person in the world couldn't afford an ID. It's because it's usually incredibly poor red states where Republicans are trying to suppress the vote of people who vote Democrat. Not necessarily because they're black, but trying to suppress the votes of people who are vote Democrats, which are usually poor people in that area, by implementing very unnecessarily strict voter ID laws that are kind of ridiculous. So, for instance, they'll cut down the amount of time, like the times when they can vote. So instead of like a 7 to 7, like a 7 in the morning, 7 at night, they'll do like a 9 to 5 where people are generally working. They'll cut things like they won't allow you to vote on Sundays. When Sunday is a big time for people to vote because it's difficult for them to get transportation, so they'll go to church on Sunday and then they'll drive church buses. It's things like not being able to pass out food online on the lines because the lines are so long, and it makes it difficult to actually stay on the line, especially if you're older. It's just the fact that there aren't as many voting places in general makes it difficult to get to. And, it makes it difficult to get to the DMV because in these poor areas, they may not have public transportation. And that's what it is. They're unnecessarily stern regulations. And then always the conservative response is like, oh, yeah, well, I know black people. They can afford an ID. It's like, okay, but we're not talking about not all black people are a monolith. And it's interesting the cognitive dissonance that people engage in when it comes to like the voter ID laws, because it's not every state where it would be like systemically racist for this to happen, but it's always like very areas that are very poor, predominantly black, and where they have Republican leadership where they're trying to like suppress voting. So yeah, voter ID laws can be racist depending on like what, or rather it can be oppressive. Let's not even just bring race into it. Depending on like how you implement them. If you think everybody should have a voter ID, check this out, because I think it's a great idea. Make IDs free. That's it. All you have to do, all conservatives would have to do is say, you know what, we're just going to make all IDs free, all the identifications free. Then it kills the entire argument. Why aren't they proposing that idea? Because there's a reason behind it. It's to try to suppress voting. Or else you just say, yeah, if you're a legal citizen, you can't afford it, here's a free ID. Why not? Who cares?
Yeah, but HR 1 quite literally has that. So the voting rights legislation that Democrats are currently trying to pass that will never pass because of the filibuster.
Praise the Lord.
But that actually has voter ID in it. Like that institutes.
But I also
voter
don't
ID
like
measure.
mail-in voting. So
Why not? Why not?
So you can just send a bucket of votes
How do you
to
think,
an apartment.
How do you think Donald Trump votes?
Okay.
He does mail in.
He literally mails it.
Doesn't like going.
How do you think the state of
No,
Florida?
absentee is a lot different than mail-in.
In what way is it different?
Wait, why?
Because it's not being. I mean, it's for people who are specifically out of the state. It's not just being mailed to random apartments, bucket loads of votes.
No, there's universal mail-in ballot registration in numerous states, though. Republican states as well. I think Utah is one of them, is it not? And Florida is another one if you want it as well.
You mean they had like what do you
Or
mean?
Oregon. Plenty of states in the United States of America have what is basically mail-in ballot registration that everybody gets.
Oh, I don't care if
they
it's
want.
Republican or Democrat. I want us all going to the polls to vote. End of discussion. Red state, blue state. Make it.
What would be cool is like when we had COVID this year, it was really cool because this was the first time like where we had voting all week. That was really cool. That would be totally chill. Make everybody go to the polls, especially now that we have COVID under control. But that's the thing. It's always like, was it a fucking Tuesday while everybody's working? You know what I'm saying? It makes it very difficult to get to the poll. They should do voting for like a week, man. And then we could probably implement that in an easier way. I do understand the skepticism when it comes to mail-in voting for sure. Like, I do totally get it. But I'm sure that there is voter fraud, but it's going to go both ways. I doubt it's enough to actually shift the tide of the election. You know what I'm saying? Because there's also another interesting thing too, is it's like all these claims of like, oh, there's voter ID, oh, there's voter fraud for the mail-in ballots, but then you have people who will, you vote for the president and then a bunch of dickheads after that, like congressmen, et cetera, in your area. And there are some people who just check the boxes for either all red or all blue. But then there's some people who vote for like a conservative or a Republican president, and they'll vote for like, Democrats in their like local offices. A lot of people tend to do that, actually, I think. Like they'll vote blue, but they'll vote red like locally. But what are them? Is that a fake ballot too? You know what I mean? It doesn't really make any sense. Like, why would you, if you're gonna do a fake ballot, why would you have like a Republican president? Oh, I voted for a Republican president, but all conservatives for like all the legislation, like for all Congress and whatnot, or you know what I'm saying? Like all my local elections and shit.
A national holiday, so nobody has to go to work.
You can't
make it nobody can just not go to work for the whole day. National holiday doesn't mean that like everybody's off. Like, who's off on a national holiday? Managers. That's it. Everybody else works. Okay, everybody else works. It's like the managers are off. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But everybody else works. Usually, a lot of companies, some of them they'll give you a day off, like some kind of bank time, but.
It's literally the Democrat buildup.
But no mail-in bullshit.
But
like all, so no, it's not.
Everybody likes by mail-in a lot of states.
Christian,
I don't care.
There was like way more election fraud when it was like that. It was like Tammany Hall like stole all those fucking elections, and it was in person. Everyone was going in. They still stole everything. Chicago, we used to do the same shit. It's all in person. If you really want to steal an election, you're doing it however.
But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen by voter fraud, which is
essentials are typically the only people working. Most people would be considered like essential. A lot of people work those days. Like most businesses aren't going to shut down. Like. On like holidays, like maybe Christmas, but even then you see a lot of people working on like every holiday except for maybe Christmas.
which is what Republicans claim is how it's done, because in order to activate people to be able to go out and commit voter fraud, like nobody gives a shit. No one is going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do voter fraud. What does happen is election fraud, in which like people will collect ballots and toss them out or whatever the fuck. That does happen. But this idea that like people are getting like illegally, people are getting excited to go and vote illegally for like a fucking Democrat. That's not real. The plurality in this country of voter eligible voters don't even vote. So if anything, we have too little people voting and not more people voting.
So why are you so married to mail-in then? If we can make it a national holiday,
To make it easier for working class individuals to be able to vote.
Well, let's make it a week-long national holiday.
But like there are no real
Not like a holiday. Just make it a week long. You know what I mean? And just allow people to go in. Make it on fucking Saturday to Sunday. Or Sunday to Saturday rather. You don't need to make it a holiday. You just need to be able to stop by. It's funny though too, because if everybody who could vote did vote, you probably wouldn't see any Republicans winning. Because it's true, more like older people tend to be more conservative and they tend to take voting more seriously, so they'll make more time out of their day. And young people just don't give a fuck because they feel like their vote doesn't matter. So, I don't give a shit. I'm all for it. I mean, I'm for we need to get rid of the two-party system, but
national holidays in America, because someone's always driving for Grubhub. Someone's always like cleaning the fucking shelves at CVS.
Yeah,
it's the invisible people of America who never.
Then they're way too tired to go home and fill it out and send it in.
You
just stop in, put your vote in, and
think about it this way.
I wish, dude.
Think about it.
I wish it was like that. It's not like, hey, just stop by and mail your vote in. It's so interesting. Although it would be like that if we did it for a week long. But when I went, and it was a week long because of COVID, and I think it was right. I was in there for like 40 minutes because it just took so long. It's crazy.
Put it this way. First of all, we don't have public transportation in most places. So that's one way that you're already eliminating so many people from being able to go out and vote. So there's that. We don't have,
UBI would solve these problems, by the way. So,
we have rural areas in this country where, poor people are living, hundreds of miles away from the fucking nearest polling station or whatever. And because of that, we already have this process in place. I don't have an issue with mail-in voting. Like, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it's smart. It's effective. That's how Donald Trump got the most amount of votes. Think about that. Donald Trump got more votes than he did the prior year or the prior election season, and more votes than any Republican has ever gotten because, more people were able to vote for him. So I think it's just honest to allow people to be able to go out and vote.
Yeah.
Okay, well, y'all stick with your ghetto mail-in. I still want to show up in person.
I did not vote since the New York
I
primary.
would still vote in person too, but fucking the ghetto mail-in. Christian Walker's fucking crazy, bro.
You haven't voted?
I voted for burning the New York primaries even after
So you
the
didn't
war
vote
was-
for Bat? You were
No,
like, fuck it.
no, I live in New York. Who gives a fuck?
Oh my
even if
gosh,
I lived,
good for
even if I
you.
lived in
He's kind of right about that. I mean, it doesn't really matter who you vote for in New York. It's going to be like a blue person, you know.
I'm a big Let's Go Brandon head. I voted illegally for Joe Biden multiple
did?
times.
Oh,
Yeah,
got it.
I did voter fraud. I'm the only
That's
one who
fair.
did voter fraud in the
You're the
country.
reason you won California.
Yeah, you are.
I illegally, yeah. Everywhere you go, everyone's a Republican secretly or openly, but
You
Joe Biden
like
keeps winning because I keep doing mail-in ballots. You know, I keep going to nursing homes, stealing their ballots, opening
Filling
them,
it out.
and then filling it out for Joe Biden.
you registered extra people to your house.
Yeah, exactly. That's precisely what I did. That's how we won.
I was doing all the votes for all the people Cuomo killed, getting all that
yeah,
shit.
hell yeah. What we're trying to say is that the Trump train, if you will, took off at the same fucking station that the Democrats took off in as well. It's just the aesthetic differences. Like, there's a reason why this administration currently, first of all, has deported more immigrants than the prior one. Did you know that? Did you know that the Biden administration has deported more undocumented
Oh, is it
immigrants?
back?
Hey, based, bro.
Okay, because that was the rumor with Obama. Meanwhile, the deportation definition under Obama was turned away at the border. That's not my definition of deportation.
No,
I
but-
mean in the country and is deported back.
Well, that's like Plan B versus abortion, right? It's like you're still
That's interesting. I didn't actually know that. So they consider people who are turned away at the border as deported. And very interesting. Do I regret for voting Biden? No. The only good thing about Trump winning would have been that it would have been another 4 years of fucking hysteria and like really entertaining shit, and I probably would have gotten more views talking about Donald Trump stuff. That's the only downside, you know.
accomplishing the same goal.
No, turning away someone at the border is not a deportation. Give me a
But that's what Donald Trump did as well.
Oh, I know.
That's what
I know.
that's what Donald Trump did. That's why.
defending-
But even with that definition, Donald Trump still deported less than Obama, and Donald Trump still deported less than Biden so far. That's one thing. And the second thing I will say is, you think I'm assuming you think the Mac attack is like a big open borders socialist, left of Lenin type guy, right? I assume that's what most Republicans think. I think they
Who's
think he's
Mac
like the
attack?
open
Biden type.
borders.
I know he's not.
Is Joe Biden Mac attack?
He's not as much as.
They're using the same exact Title 42 provision right now to expel Haitian migrants from seeking asylum in any of the fucking border facilities.
Interesting.
And didn't he
That's the
put back
same
in-
exact thing that they're using that was the Trump administration provision. So they're quite literally using the same facilities, the same exact laws, and also deporting more people than the Trump administration did. So there's that.
What was the point of that? I wonder why he talked about that. I'm just curious as to why he talked about that. Like, what was the...
I mean, every American president does the same thing with
And they're
immigration.
defending it. And they're defending it in courts too. There's
Well, what's interesting is that nobody cares about that now that it's like a progressive, like a Democratic president. I mean, that's what the message I would get. It's like, why didn't we care about that? In general, like immigration is like a very complex thing. The reality is we can't take everybody in. We need to encourage our allies to take more people in. But I wonder why there's no like media hysteria about that. Obviously, progressive media probably just doesn't really care because it's one of their guys, which is a fundamental problem with the media. Instead of holding their people accountable, they really advocate for particular people. And then also, I guess conservatives don't give a shit about Haitian people. So they're like, their Fox isn't like, oh my God, what a terrible thing. They're not letting Haitians in the country, because conservatives, the Fox News, it's not. It might be a little racist.
activist judges that want to strike it down, and the Biden prosecutors are fighting against that. The Biden administration lawyers are currently in the process of fighting to uphold Title 42, which is a Trump-era CDC provision.
Like, every president does the same thing with immigration, right?
I know and I'm against it.
Right, because it's like, well, like, do you agree that it's like, okay, we create these conditions in all these fucking countries. Like Haiti, perfect example. He's killed, like, their president, we kill him with U.S. agents. There's fucking decades and decades of us fucking with that place, of the West fucking with that place, of France fucking with that place for centuries. Guatemala, everywhere. Our fucking fingers in the pie. We're fucking it up for somebody. They have to go. They don't, it's not that they want to go here to take something from them, but we're fucking up their home. But for this system we have, right? Whether you're a liberal who wants their bathroom cleaned, like somewhere in LA, or you're a fucking conservative who has like a chicken processing plant, you need this like
Low wage.
Yeah, you need this like spigot of low wage
sure.
workers. And the president is always aware of that. But they're like, okay, well, we can't have too many or else like people are going to get mad at me. So we have to have just the right amount of brutality to keep the right amount of people in. Biden does it. Obama does it. Trump.
And
Trump shook hands with people he knew were like getting low wage workers. From jobs that we
absolutely.
fucked up.
And here's the part about it that is like absolutely correct, is just that two-tier immigration system that we currently have, because we know people are going to want to come in here because we fucked up their country in an irreparable fashion. That system does not need to exist. We could absolutely completely have a legal process where we actually allow every single person that wants to come in to go through the proper steps to be able to get the appropriate documentation. That's more jobs, that's more opportunities. But the reason why we don't do that, and the reason why we have a two-tier system, is exactly what Felix just said. It's not the undocumented immigration that is a problem. It's the fact that we refuse to document immigrants that are coming over the border so that Purdue chicken factories can just fucking, rape their workers, and refuse to pay them the proper wages that they actually deserve. And the moment that like the Guatemalan aunt says, hold up, there's a lot of back wages that we need to get paid, they literally call ICE on themselves because they know that they're only going to get a slap on the fucking wrist and then immediately go and hire more undocumented workers to take the place of the people that they fucking expel from the country.
Well, two things.
One thing I would say is I don't think that we could, I mean, theoretically, I really don't think that we could just allow an unregulated amount of people into the, like, starting the process, the legal process would still takes years, like 10 years for some people. So, like, I don't think that you could just say, like, oh, we could technically let everybody in. I don't think so. Not necessarily. Like, we don't have infinite people. I mean, a lot of times when we let people in, like low-wage workers in, we need low-wage workers. I think people that, other people that will work the jobs that other people aren't going to want to work, an influx of like low-skilled, like low-paid labor so that you can keep like smaller businesses up. Obviously, this is going to, I don't really know somebody said what makes the process so long? Background checks and paperwork, probably, but then also I think like amount of people we're willing to let in, because we can't just let everybody in. Like even Bernie Sanders acknowledged we can't have a borderless country. Like we have to regulate the amount of people that we let into our country, or else things will get fucked. I mean, you can't just overpack a bunch of people into the country. Yeah, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know how you want to say it, we have technology that's starting to offset like low skilled labor, and that's kind of what's going to happen, man. As like technology offsets lower skilled labor, we're gonna have less and less of a demand of like low skilled labor, or low skilled, low paid labor, because you're gonna be able to offset it with technology, which is a good thing because it makes things cheaper, but then it also introduces a new problem of just job availability. Who decides how many people we should let in? I don't know, the government. I mean, I imagine there's a number. I think everybody, even if we don't know the number, everybody could agree, like, yeah, like we can't just let anybody in. We need a number. I imagine they set the numbers.
Rather help people in their countries and bring them here than load our country with more low-wage workers that drive wages down for other low-wage countries and bring
workers to take the place of the people that they fucking expel from the country.
Well, two things. I'd rather help people in their countries and bring them here than load our country with more low-wage workers that drive wages down for other low-wage workers.
I mean, that makes sense. How would you do that?
I'm in favor of our current low-wage workers getting a raise. You're bringing in more low-wage workers, it's driving wages down. So, I understand your point of, fucking them up there. I'd rather help them there than import them here.
Okay, so you're in favor of just like, you're with us where it's like, all right, CIA, like, stop fucking with these places.
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean,
they can't fuck with those places anymore anyway. They got imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's right. They're too anxious.
They're too anxious. They're breathing in a bag.
Dude, I'm a 29-year-old millennial with anxiety.
Imagine not being able to do a coup in fucking Venezuela, bro. Come on.
They did. America is still very powerful, still capable of a lot of evil. I will say, Bush would have been able to knock over Maduro.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, we've lost a lot. We took a lot of L's.
Oh, yeah. So, here's the thing. The real problem with undocumented labor is the two-tiered immigration system that we have created on purpose so that business owners, whether they're fucking liberals or Republicans, can get away with like slave wages, right? And that does have a capacity to depress wages overall. The other way that we depress wages overall is by destroying unions.
Hasan.
What?
You're anti-union?
Why are you say what you were going to say?
No, I want to hear why you're anti-union. But like,
no, I just want to hear your point first.
Okay, so unions historically and still to this day, and there's like fucking shitty unions, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's like corruption within unions as well.
There are, because like the union I was in allowed my company to take away like all my vacation and like a bunch of like, my benefits and shit, and allowed them to put more work onto me without any change in the union contract. They were just like, oh yeah, fuck you. Like I'm not a particular fan of union. Well, I mean, like I wasn't a fan of that union. They can get very corrupt very quickly.
But who cares? Unions have the capacity to increase wages even for non-unionized workers by 10%, no matter what, across the fucking board. And they do. They increase benefits, they increase wages, they offer, it's the least important, most important thing you can do in your workplace, because it's the starting point. It's just what's fair. That if you are a worker that is generating value for your bosses, you should be able to at least say, hey, can we take a piece of these fucking profits and, pay ourselves more, or at the very least get like a day off when we want to, or be able to fill in.
Or you can find another job.
But you can't, because that is an absolute lie. The idea that like,
I guess you could technically find another job, but it's not really that easily. It really depends. Again, like maybe that's something you could do in New York or something, but you can't just always just find another job, especially if you're working a job that pays better than minimum wage for your skill set. But like you're getting fucked royally, but you can't do anything about it. So I used to make like how much did I used to make? Like $24 an hour. And I managed a bus cleaning crew, right? I couldn't just pick up and leave. They would treat me like shit sometimes, but I couldn't just pick up and leave. Like they would take away my vacation. They would put more like work onto what I had to do. I went from like my job was to clean buses, and then I somehow did that plus another part of another job, which was like somebody who does parts runs and whatnot. It became like very annoying. I can't just quit. I need a job. You know what I mean? It's really not that simple. So
leave your job and then go get another one is a total lie. Why?
Why'd you get
Because
that first job to begin with?
because your healthcare is tied to your job, right? Your
A lot
healthcare
of
is
times
completely
that's
tied to
true
your job.
too. Yeah.
We do not have
That's another thing too. I had healthcare through my job, and it was a fucking $100 a week, bro. Shit's crazy.
universal healthcare. You're saddled with debt because you went to college, so you could improve
Thank God,
your.
don't go to college anymore.
Okay,
I'm in the anti-college
college.
movement. I'm in the
Well, then you
anti-college
shouldn't have
movement.
gone and gotten that student
Okay,
loan.
but people have done.
I don't think
That's true. The college gets really complicated, but here's the thing: is I think that there's multiple aspects of college that are a problem. Look at Christian Walker's face right now; he's fucking killing me. One of the aspects of college that's a problem is the advocation to go to college when you're in high school. There is literally like a fucking pipeline. They'll shame you away from doing trades. I remember being in high school. Like, you go to high school and they're like, you should go to college. You don't know what you want to do. Go to college. Go to college. Go to college. It's like, holy fuck. You know, it doesn't matter what you say. They shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be saying, like, they should say, like, hey, listen, if you don't know what you want to do, maybe community college to get your liberal arts degree isn't a bad idea, because liberal arts degrees get rid of some of like the bullshit work that you don't like, you know, unnecessary work, by the way, which is still a problem. Like, if you're trying to be a fucking, you know, if you're trying to be a social worker, why do you need to take fucking advanced math? It actually is insane. This is one of the problems too. But we have like a pipeline. Instead of saying like, hey, you know, the way school should work was like, hey, you should follow what you want to do as long as it's practical. But then also, if you don't know what you want to do, we could really use HVAC techs. We could really use like mechanics. We could really use welders. Maybe you try that field out, right? Introduce them. But instead, they shame you away from BOCES programs, which is insane. The ghost in my house. Anyway, fucking ghost, bro. They shame you away from those programs. Then on top of that, school is ridiculous. Not only ridiculously expensive, but it also it's littered with unnecessary bullshit. Right? So like I was saying before, if you want to be a social worker, you have to do like advanced math. If you want to be a doctor, you have to do like advanced science. You should obviously be good at the job you need to do, but they load it with like, why the fuck do you need to take gym? Seriously, in college. I get high school, which they don't even do gym the right way. But like, why do you need to take gym? They force you to take a bunch of bullshit electives, and then they'll say, well, it's just so that you can expand your college experience. No, it's so that you can force me to spend thousands of dollars on nonsense that's not going to help.
Martin's 22
hey, thank you so much for the sub.
Subscribed.
So they force you to take programs that you don't need to take. And on top of that, college is expensive. Now, I know some people say we should make college like free. I don't really go in that direction. Yeah, dude, you have to take gym in some colleges, bro. It's crazy. But then also, you know, you could make college free. I'm kind of not against, I'm not really for that. You know, unadulterated fucking subsidies, I think, is a problem. You know, in the community colleges, I think it's usually a third. The federal government pays a third, state government pays a third, and then you pay a third. And so it's like, to me, what you should do is, and this is something that that Andrew Yang introduced to me, is the biggest cost that they have is, what the fuck is it called? Administrative costs. A lot of money gets put into administrative costs to try to like draw other people in, things like that. They're kind of unnecessary. You know, even in your own job, think about it. There's unnecessary people there that don't really need to exist. There's a bunch of people in the middle of the chain that like exist for no fucking reason. They have frivolous nonsense positions, and they don't increase the student or the teacher experience whatsoever, and they make it more expensive. So I think what we should do is we should tell them, hey, you can charge whatever you want, but we're just not going to give you subsidies. If you do that, it'll force them to charge something that's more realistic. And then on top of that, I like the idea of a universal basic income, because it doesn't incentivize people to go to college, right? Because we don't need everybody to go to college. So like, let's do paint again for fun. Let's say there's different pathways once you get out of high school, right? So you have your high school right here. We always love how beautiful it is. One pathway is college. We're going to say like that. One pathway is college. One pathway might be to go right into the workforce. One pathway might be to open your own business. And then maybe one pathway is to go to a trade school, right? We tend to have this pattern of like really incentivizing people to go to college, but not so much these other things. With a universal basic income of like $1,000 a month, which is what I'm on board with, this incentivizes all of these things, which means that you can make a reasonable choice in general. Right. So how does it help college? Well, now if you get $1,000 a month, if you're poorer, which you'd probably still have access to like some kind of, you should still have like access to things where it's like, oh, you're poor, you should get like a break. I get that. I'm not saying take those away. But now maybe you won't have to work, which will allow you to push all of your energy into college. Or maybe you can pay off some of your college while you're in college, right? If you go right into the workforce, this instantly subsidizes your wage. So if you start at minimum wage of like $7.50 an hour as a full-time job, let's say that's like $15,000 a year. Well, you get an UBI of $12,000. That's $27,000 a year. That's a huge increase. I understand inflation will happen, but it's not going to be devastating. So you're getting a big wage increase. Let's say you open your own business. Well, one of the biggest issues of opening your own business is that you don't get a wage for 5 years. With a UBI, you get a wage still, even though you open your own business. On top of that, we tie it back to the workers. You'll have a better chance of getting decent workers because you can pay them minimum wage since you're a small business and can afford it, but they'll still get an additional $12,000 a year because of UBI. So it incentivizes good work. And then if you go into a trade school, it's basically the same as college. Like maybe you won't have to work at the same time. You'll be able to help pay for it, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what I like about UBI is it gives you the choice to do what you want to do. And that's one of the problems is when you incentivize a particular thing, people gravitate towards it, which makes sense. But that's why I like UBI over over micromanaging people's ability to use their money. I think people should have their own choice to do with their money, but I do think we need wealth redistribution. And so this makes the most sense here. Would UBI also be given to people who have good paying jobs? Sure. I like the idea of $1,000 a month, and then you could obviously tax people. UBI itself is untaxable. However, if you're for like a negative income tax, which a negative income tax basically, let's say you make $5,000 a year, you'll get a negative income tax of let's say $20,000 a year. Like I'm just throwing out random numbers. But then if you make like 10,000 instead of that, maybe you only get 15,000 a year. And you make 20,000, maybe you only get 10,000 a year. Right. So instead of a flat 1K for everybody across the board, it'll be like, oh, 2K for people that don't make any money. And then like, 500 for people who make $50,000 a year on like a sliding scale. Right. You can go operate in that capacity. I'm more of just a flat UBI guy. Obviously, I'll be open when it comes to like actually implementing it, to be open to discussion. But yeah, sure.
Not think their lives should be ruined for the student loan.
Yeah,
I mean, college as a concept.
Dumb.
I like college. I think it's a fun experience. People should do it.
Vacation for 4 years.
Yeah, that's fine. Everyone deserves a vacation for 4 years.
I don't think everybody should go to college. I think that's silly. I mean, like, it sounds nice. I don't really care about the college experience. I think that's like a very idealistic. Like, oh, you just go to college. Everybody should do it. It's like it's bizarre. Like you should be an active somebody who can contribute to society. If you're going to college just for the experience, then go on an actual. It would be better off if you just spent a bunch of money going to Disney or traveling Europe if you could somehow afford it. Because there's absolutely no fucking point to go to college for like 2 years to get nothing out of it. And then it was a cool experience. Yeah, so was a week at Disney. You know what I'm saying? You're really just much better off doing that. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't just go to college. You should go to college if you have a reason to go to college. It's kind of like a ridiculous thing to me.
They're kind of treated
but
as
then
an
don't
adult.
ask me to pay for, or don't ask that loan to be forgiven when you chose to go. When you started working.
I think it should be. I think because other countries offer it for free, and also technically, it doesn't have to be a college either. It could be a technical school.
We can have the
as well.
discussion about making it free, even though I'll never be on that train. But we can at least have the discussion when we're not bringing in more people.
I have a question for you. I have a question for you about like bringing in more people though, about immigration though. Because like this is like you agree that it's like we all have this system. Every president does it.
Yeah.
But would you, if we stop doing it, if like you said, we stop bringing people in, there will be a change in all of our ways of life.
What do you mean? We're already experiencing it. Why do you think there's a labor shortage?
Right. Well, right. I mean, that's for a bit, but yeah, like if you think like supply chain or like.
Is there a labor shortage though? Would we call it like a labor shortage? I don't think that's the reason we have a labor shortage right now at all. Maybe it is partially. That might be like an ongoing problem, but the biggest reason that we have a labor shortage is because of COVID. So I don't think that they're still incentivizing people with unemployment benefits, but obviously for a time they were giving people a lot of money on unemployment. Now people are going back to work and we still have a labor shortage. I think a lot of people have learned how to work or learned how to live without having to like work particular jobs they don't want to. People are still getting unemployment too. I don't think it's that simple. There's also a big reason too is like COVID. Like the COVID regulations. My wife is a behavior. I saw it the whole time. It's a meme now. But she, at her place of business, you have nurses who are told like, "Hey, and if you're not vaccinated, you're done." And you might be like, "Yeah, I think they should get vaccinated." Well, a ton of people are leaving. You have people making minimum wage, and you tell them to get even better than minimum wage. Like nurses get more than minimum wage, but then direct support professionals that work with adults with disabilities. You're telling people that make minimum wage like, hey, you have to get vaccinated or we're removing you, and they're just like, fuck it, I'll leave. It does kill it makes it so it disincentivizes work. And I know ideally we should all have the COVID vaccine, but the alternative that they were going to go with was like, okay, if you don't have the vaccine, then you have to test yourself every week. And you should just do it, like, I think it's a curated test, they'd say, so you have to do it like in front of somebody at the facility. I think that's fine. But that's another reason for a labor shortage. I don't just think that it's less availability of work. I think people have managed to figure it out, and COVID restrictions are getting too much.
Empty shelves are bad now. Just wait until we stop bringing people in. Just wait until we stop bringing in people who will like work for nothing.
You will.
And then part of it too is that businesses feel comfortable changing their hours, and it's not negatively impacting their business because of the COVID excuse. So they're just like, fuck it, we don't have as many people. Well, you know, we're just going to close down an hour early every day. There's a lot of reasons why it's happening, you know?
Not people get very
different.
No. If you stop bringing people in, wages start going up because there's less competition. Then people will want to do those low wage
Why hasn't
jobs
it
because
happened?
the wage will go up.
But it
We're
hasn't
still bringing
happened.
people in.
I don't think that would happen. I think that if you stop letting people in, there's really kind of two types of jobs. There's two types of minimum wage jobs, we'll say. There's two types of low-skilled labor jobs that they're referring to. There's low-skilled labor jobs out of necessity for the business and low-skilled labor jobs that aren't necessary to the business. So McDonald's, for instance, could pay their workers better than minimum wage, but they don't have to. Then there's small businesses that can only afford like minimum wage, right? So if we don't have low skill labor, and you know what McDonald's is going to do, they're not going to start hiring people for more money. Maybe they'll do that temporarily. What they're going to do is over the next 5 years, they're going to automate the fuck out of their labor, and they're going to eliminate the job. That's what they're going to do. I don't think it doesn't work directly in the way that they're saying. Again, that would be a UBI would be a good offset to that, but like it's true. And then those smaller businesses will be fucked. You know, they're not going to be able to afford like an increase in pay, or they're just not going to. So. Yeah.
No, we're not.
We're bringing tons of
The
people.
reason? No, we're not.
And then also, you know, we also have an aging population. All first world countries deal with an aging population because as people get more comfortable, they don't give a fuck about having kids. It's a reason why a lot of other social programs aren't doing great financially in other countries because their populations are aging out. America is very unique. We take in so many immigrants. We offset that, which is a good thing. We offset an aging population. So yeah, I mean that's good. We should take immigrants in. There's no problem with that. We should just make sure that we don't take so many in that it changes American values. And I don't mean to load that. I just mean my American values are work a job and leave me the fuck alone. You know what I'm saying? And don't be violent. You know. I don't want to do a drastic change. I'm not talking about we have Democrats. We have all these people coming in voting Democrat. I don't give a shit if they come in and vote Democrat. I don't care. I'm just talking about I don't want to all of a sudden every year replace have a 10% increase in population or something. I don't know. You get my point. A drastic change. Everybody that comes from different cultures needs time to adjust to the culture that they're going into, right? For instance, you have people coming in from other countries. They're not usually from southern countries of our southern border. They're not super into LGBTQ people. It's obviously I want them, and they're people that were born. People who come here, they need to adjust to being pro LGBTQ. And it takes a little bit of time for that to happen, so a couple generations. So you don't want to overflow the population and tear down some values that we need.
The precise reason why, once we've established that it's technically not undocumented immigration that's depressing wages, it's the way that we have designed that system on purpose. Is a cruel.
I don't think it's just undocumented either. I want to tone down legal as well.
Have we decided on purpose? Or, and this is a real question, have we actually designed it like that on purpose? Or is this just kind of the impact of, I don't know, maybe businesses being able to take advantage of the system or just the way the system runs? I don't really know. I'm not educated enough on the topic to talk about it. I guess that would be a question for Destiny, but...
You think America does it? You think America it takes too many immigrants?
I think we take in the most in the world.
Go
try Brazil, go try China, go try Russia. Why don't they take some people in?
They do take people in.
They don't take as many as we do.
Also, we have 330 million people in this country. We can definitely, and we have a lot of space. We definitely take in way more immigrants. It's not a big deal at all. But
but the problem, I mean, come on. The problem with that is that, yeah, we might have a lot of space, but where is that space? Is it in an area that has a healthy local economy where people could find jobs? No. This idea that what are we supposed to do then? Hey, just take everybody in. They have lots of space. We don't have a lot of space that centralizes around a lot of jobs, right? We don't really have a lot of space in New York, for instance. There's a lot of space in the middle of the country, but there's no fucking jobs in the middle of Nebraska. What the fucking job can you get? Now, obviously, universal basic income would offset that problem because you'd be putting money into all these communities and they'd be able to develop their own local economies. But you can't just say we have the room. It's okay, but where's the access to opportunity in those rooms? Maybe they can sell crack in Kansas. Yeah, sure. There you go.
What I'm saying is, the reason why wages are depressed, or the reason why wages go down, is not because undocumented or documented labor is coming into the country and there's more labor. It's a lump of labor fallacy that was disproven in the fucking 18th century. The reason why the wages are depressed in this country, despite productivity increasing year over year with technological achievements and yada yada, is because we have no support system for the American working class to be able to say, hey, at my workplace, like, it seems like we're making more money every single fucking year, but our salaries have remained the same. It's not adjusted to inflation. It's not adjusted to the cost of living, and we're still making dog shit fucking wages. Let's not do that. Let's get more money. We have.
I get that, but like, here's the thing: is that so? Here's the problem. Like, I get like overall, totally. The problem with the way that he just said that is he expressed like, hey, listen. So, one of the reasons that here, let's go back
is because the wages are depressed in this country, despite productivity increasing year over year with technological achievements and yada yada. Is because.
So it's hard to say like, hey, we have technological achievements that are increasing productivity, and then say, hey, the workers deserve more money. What ends up happening, and I'm not saying workers don't. Again, I'm a UBI guy, but the thing is that when it comes to productivity, the way that technology increases productivity is by reducing labor and increasing speed at which you can get shit out. Hey, thank you so much, brother. The speed at which you can get shit out, right? So let's say they did this in Ohio. Tons of factories like fucking shit their pants. They kept like 10% of their workers. You create a machine that does what a worker can do more efficiently without healthcare providing, which is a conversation about universal healthcare. So you're going to have less labor and more productivity because of those machines, right? So it's not really the worker that's creating the productivity. They're usually laying people off, and then sometimes they're paying those people they don't lay off more money. But overall, it has a less positive impact when it comes to distributing wealth. I'm just saying, it's kind of hard to throw both of those arguments there and then say like, yeah, they deserve more money. I'm not saying they don't deserve more money, but it's not quite as simple, I think, as he's presenting it.
Because we have no support system for the American working class to be able to say, hey, at my workplace, like, it seems like we're making more money every single fucking year, but our salaries have remained the same. It's not adjusted to inflation. It's not adjusted to the cost of living, and we're still making dog shit fucking wages. Let's not do that. Let's get more money. We have no vehicle to be able to do that because we have no labor unions. It's not an accident that like every country where you look at the average wages for comparable jobs
but
is
don't
much
you
higher.
think if we just raise wages for all these low-class working class people, then the market's going to adjust and prices are going to rise as well?
There could be a price rise in the.
There will be a price rise. Okay, so. Money used to be better distributed in the United States. And that's when we considered it the American dream. Things were less expensive and people had more money. We were fine. We operated just fine. So I think it's a little bit of like a weird take to be like, well, if you pay poor people too much, then like, oh, inflation is just going to blow up. Inflation will increase if there's more money in the market, but that doesn't mean that it's going to infinitely increase to the point where it's going to completely offset the amount of like money, like the additional cost or the additional money that people are going to have individually. My only issue with increasing minimum wage, for instance, or even unionizing, really is that, again, big businesses can afford to pay more money, and they also can afford to implement or invest more money into technologies that will overall just get rid of jobs faster. Small businesses can't. So so sometimes that can actually, like, an advocacy for a minimum wage increase. Oh my God. Minimum wage increase. And also unions could potentially offset a ton of jobs and create more automated jobs faster. It's already happening, but faster to a point where we can't keep up with it. And we're already struggling to keep up with it. Right? Which, again, is why I'm for UBI. Basically, you're to an extent taxing technology, putting the money in the bottom, allowing more people to have more money. And then also people can engage in passion projects. I mean, like, you're going to have more money going into the system. So people can be like, you know what, I'm going to, when people have more money, they buy dumb shit. Check this out. It's a Jasper dog. Okay. This is a, some kind of elephant, right? I have a lava rock. I forgot what the elephant stone is. I got this blood dragon Jasper turtle, and I think this is called selenite. It's a recharging crystal. Now, why am I showing this to you? My wife bought these things for me. She likes crystals, and they're kind of cool, so I got some cool different ones. It's because I have too much money. So people, when they have more money, have the ability to buy first world items. So you'll see more shops that sell bullshit we don't need, which will keep money going through the economy. Hey, you want some fucking rocks? For sure. You can open up a rock store. Maybe you could sell cakes. Maybe you could fucking, like, I don't know, jerk people off in a massage parlor. The point is that more people have more money to spend into the economy, and especially since they need to spend that money more, they're going to need to do it more for their bills and rather than rich people. And they're also going to want to be able to enjoy themselves more, so they might go out more to eat. This is going to, like, cause that money to instantly go. right? Like if you give poor people money, they instantly spend it because they need to. But if you give rich people more money, like what do? They save it, and then they pull that money out of the economy, by the way, and they just fucking hoard that wealth. So like, you know, yeah, inflation will go up, but there's really nothing to suggest that it's going to go up to the point where it will completely invalidate it. The issue when it comes to like a UBI specifically is, have a good day too, my man.
Hope you have a great day.
The only issue is when it gets to the point where landlords, and that gets a little bit more complicated. Like, let's say they could say, like, I'm going to raise rent by $1,000. That's the only thing that I would be worried about when it comes to, like, I guess, inflation or something like that. But then you just say that they're treasonous and you fucking take their land away. And I'm actually being unironic. I think that, like, if you implement a UBI and the biggest threat is landlords, like, doubling the price of their land that they're lording over, then that's the only issue. Then, like, yeah, some form of rent control. Oh, well, if you're like, oh, I don't like that, I don't care. It's insane. Could you imagine how insane it is? It's like, I get it. It's like, oh, we used to spend 1,000, now it's like 1,100. I get that, but like you're gonna increase by 500. You know what I'm saying? Like that's ridiculous. You know, so
interim, but that price rise is never going to be as significant.
But then also, I'm sorry for going on a tangent. We also talked about how let's do it, dude. We were also talking about how Hasan made the point of that there's a lot of space in America. So we're gonna crudely draw America here. I forget what America looks like, so it's gonna look like this. Okay. I don't know exactly. Like I don't know if I'm perfect at America. This is what America is now. It's a fucking blob of shit. This is America, right? A lot of the jobs are kind of like along these areas here. They're more towards like the corners, like the New Yorks and stuff and all that other bullshit. So there's like a lot more infrastructure maybe towards the middle of the country, let's say in here. With a universal basic income that gives everybody a K in every state, you're going to see more job availability in these poor areas that don't really have a lot of jobs. This is a really great United States, right? And so that means that people in New York that might be like being held ransom by fucking landlords, they might go like, hey, listen, I have $1,000 now. And there are some jobs opening up in fucking Idaho. I don't even know where Idaho is. In the middle of this fucking country. You know what? Maybe we'll start moving. Maybe we'll say fuck it and we'll move and we'll take a pay cut, but its cost of living is going to be a bit cheaper and we're going to say fuck it. You're going to see more people move around the country towards the middle of the country, and you're going to see those areas have better like local economies because they're going to have more money to be spending, because that's what's going to happen. People are going to have more money. There's going to be more businesses being created. It's actually going to cause our like right now, you know, things are very centralized around like you know, jobs. Obviously, that makes sense. So there's going to be more job availability in the middle of the country. They'll flock to those areas. So yeah.
The way people say it's going to be, and that's, you know,
I don't want to test it out.
No, but we know, we have examples of this. You know, you look at any other fucking country in Europe, which Republicans refuse to recognize exists, and you will see that the prices on certain goods are definitely higher than America.
I see the chat saying low class. I meant work.
Yeah, I mean, I think at like McDonald's in like Finland or some fucking shit, they get paid like $20 an hour, and like the cost is like barely more or maybe even the same.
Working class, low wage workers, low wage.
Yeah. And also,
Like, come on.
and
That's
also,
why I do a podcast
on top
instead of live. They fucking
No,
do
I like
that.
that live. It's fun.
And also,
I know
not only
usually-
that, but we already have an example of this working in other countries where like it's not like
Where?
a McDonald's hamburger
Like where?
in Denmark where people are getting paid fucking
less
$20.
immigration too, right?
That does not change the reality.
But they
of a McDonald's
do.
hamburger.
So I'm willing to have that conversation if we just implement some of their policies as
Okay,
well.
but that doesn't. Okay, but that doesn't
Not
change
just
the
ignore
reality.
how they.
Immigration does not change wages as long as everyone is considered to be the same type of worker. What actually depresses or increases wages is a lack of unionization. Because when there's more people coming in, there's more need for housing, there's more need for roads, there's more need for education, there's more need for everything else, which is precisely why immigration in and of itself, if everyone was...
Yeah, it's so difficult to deal with too, because it's like, okay, it's like, I know it sounds crazy, but our area is obviously much bigger, so there's much more like ground to cover. Like, what is it, like 3.8 million miles squared, and versus Denmark, which is like 16,550. So it's obviously usually easier for smaller areas to, you know, implement some of these structures, which is why I'm not really big into like our next step being unionization as much as I am for it being implementation of like a universal basic income. Because it's just simpler. I think it'll be more effective, especially how diverse America is in every different state. So,
was documented will not actually depress wages in any meaningful capacity whatsoever. It's how we do the immigration that actually has a capacity to depress wages.
Are you down for Denmark's diversity?
I mean, these countries are actually pretty diverse.
I know they are now. And
not now. Like they've always been pretty diverse. I think that people
diverse is
completely
Denmark?
misunderstand that and think that it's not.
I mean, they're, like,
And
still,
per
like,
capita, Denmark allows more people.
America.
Denmark allows 4.3 per
I know
1,000.
they are now, and look how the rape rate's gone up too.
I don't know
Well,
about
that actually is, first of all, I don't know why Republicans ever mention rape laws or rape statistics in Europe. Every country has a different way of calculating. And the real reason why in Sweden, which is what you're referencing, not Denmark, the real reason why rape statistics have gone up in Sweden is because they changed the way that they document rape from maybe if you're a spouse, like if you're engaging in spousal rape, which Dennis Prager loves and is an advocate for.
He did write an article saying you should do that.
He wrote 2 articles.
I'm pretty sure like Denmark is not nearly as diverse as America. Like we're massively diverse. I think it's a little dishonest to suggest that they're very diverse. They might be taking more people in now, but we're very diverse, especially like culturally diverse in America. So I don't know, bro.
Saying you should rape your wife.
He wasn't into that shit. He's a little freak.
He's had 7 wives. So.
Yeah, he's fucked up. He's fucked up, dude.
Anyway,
Fucked
so
up.
the reason why the rape statistics skyrocketed in Sweden was not because of
Well, I was thinking
immigration.
Sweden and Germany. Germany, really.
Okay, but most of these countries actually have a different way of documenting rape, and that is the reason when they change like the methodology for what they constitute as like a singular instance of rape. That's when you see gigantic differences in the rape statistics, not because of immigration. Also, Germany's entire economy is reliant on immigrant labor. If there wasn't Turkish immigration into Germany, there would be no engine driving the EU at this moment. It's quite literally the immigration that kept Germany alive in post-World War II.
And they have a similar thing there, whenever they say some shit, whenever they talk shit about Erdogan, he's like, watch me turn the spigot. I'll either turn it off totally or I will flood you. Like, he's just said that. He's just been like,
I don't care.
yeah, he's like, keep talking.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about Syrians. Like he has like
Yeah.
fucking 3 million Syrian refugees inside of Turkey, and he uses that as a counterpoint to say that like, to use that as a counterpoint to be like, hey, don't threaten me. If you don't fucking jail this journalist that said I'm a pussy, I will literally send Syrian refugees to Germany.
Yeah, and that's, by the way, one of my 3 plugs I have to do today. Keep buying the lira. Buy the dip. The lira's going nowhere but up. Keep buying it. Trust the plan. I have a trillion liras right now.
Oh, here, see, once again, rape laws changing in 2016, and rape law reformation is the reason why they.
Where is this at though? Like, what is he referencing? I'm just curious, like what he's referencing. Oh, immigration to Denmark. Okay. Okay, so new law with lack of consent rather than resistance on the part of the victim is rather than goal. Okay.
Once again, rape laws changing in 2016, and rape law reformation is the reason why they skyrocket. It has nothing to do with immigration. A lot of these countries, if you look at their statistics, they've had high rates of like immigration for a very long time, 2 decades, 3 decades. The only reason why people are making a big stink of it now is because there is uncertainty and anxiety elsewhere, oftentimes economic anxiety and uncertainty, that they are aggressively, shifting over to immigrants coming in. It's bullshit.
I mean, this is just me thinking out loud. But it also makes sense that the reason, like, okay, so I'm not saying that immigrants like rape more or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But you have people that are in a less economically sound country, usually, leaving to go to another country that's more economically sound, right? And countries that are more economically sound generally have more progressive ideology and progressive laws, right? And it's those countries like Denmark that's reforming its laws around what sexual assault is and categorizing it better to be more inclusive of different types of sexual assault. So that, like, obviously you implement this from a legal perspective and it starts to drip down into a moral perspective, right? So basically it's like, it goes from like active, like I'm going to sexually assault you with like a knife to like, okay, also not getting a clear yes, having more nuanced takes on sexual assault. It's possible that people coming in from other countries, since they're not as progressive and don't have the same progressive mindset, are coming in with more regressive ideas of consent, and they are acting in a way that's culturally acceptable in where they live, but not culturally acceptable in the new place that they live. And that was what we were talking about before, and making sure people come in and they get adjusted to the particular culture. So I'm not saying that that's what's happening. I'm saying that it's possible that would make sense as to like, maybe it's because of the reclassification, but then it's also because of the cultural difference of what consent is and means. Because obviously in other countries where women are considered less than people, you would imagine that consent laws are not quite as progressive as countries where women are considered equal, right? So that's a possibility for it as well.
Anyway, so there's that. Not that it matters. You can keep saying whatever. I know conservatives will say it regardless, but for the record, like I said, this is the same exact thing in Sweden as well, where it's like, in Sweden, for example, spousal rape, if like a husband rapes their wife 100 times over the course of a year, that's not calculated as one instance of rape anymore. It's calculated as 100 instances of rape. That's why there was a big skyrocketing of rape numbers.
Are you a football bro?
Fuck no, dude. No, not even remotely, okay? I am not even in any way, shape, or form interested in any of that stuff. Are you a barb?
I'm a total barb.
Are you a barb
yeah.
now? Although you're like a fake barb.
No, I've been a barb since day one. Everybody like thought I was, and then when she did that, I came out of the closet as a barb.
Oh, okay. Well then, okay. So that's
when she did what? Was it when she? It was Nicki Minaj. Is it when she sexually assaulted that guy? No, I'm just kidding. Didn't she? Is it her or is it the other one? I don't know. I get Nicki Minaj and the other girl confused. Who's the other girl who I'm thinking of? Cardi B. My bad. Sorry, Nicki. I'm a Barb. Didn't her and Hasan have a little tiff? You know?
Why you're a fake Barb?
No!
Because a real Barb wears it on their sleeve from day one.
I played her music.
Oh, you were too afraid. You were too afraid to admit it. Okay.
No. Yeah, I'm totally a Barb.
She had a great song with NBA Youngboy. That's all I really know about her. Like,
Barbs hate me because
because you fought with her.
You fought with Nicki.
I ratioed.
He was like,
you what?
I ratioed Nicki Minaj on Twitter.
What?
100%. That's the real thing that I did.
Let her live her life.
What?
You're hating on a black queen.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what the Barb said.
You are
That's exactly what the Barb
you're
said.
such a racist.
The racism of Hasan, bro. I know it was over COVID stuff, and she said something like astronomical, like my cousin or something got bro, what did they say? My cousin's penis like exploded or something because he got the vaccine. It was like fucking preposterous. It was insane. The other part of what Nicki said was like, I think people should be able to make their own health choices. That was fine. But then she's like, my cousin in fucking wherever, he got his ball, he became infertile and his ball sack exploded basically. It was insane. Balls.
That is literally what the Barb said. They were like, you're a white supremacist.
You are.
And other words that I can't say on Twitch because I got banned.
I remember.
You know, I got banned on Twitch for 7 days for saying...
I'm a free speaker. I wouldn't have banned you.
It's crazy.
Well, they banned him for saying like an anti-white slur, which is crazy.
I mean, like I imagine okay, let's see what they.
No, legit, they banned for that.
But if they're gonna ban
Would Christian Walker not allow people to get banned if they said the N-word? Then is that what he's saying?
people for other words, then fuck yeah, ban them for that. Fuck yeah.
So you're for more censorship?
No. If they're gonna ban people.
I don't think it's really more censorship. It's just the evolution of what words mean. I mean, that's not really more censorship. So if you say like, hey, like hate speech is bad. If you use any word in a hateful context, then you could get banned. That's fine because you can invent new words. Let's say I'm a super big racist, right? And I hate black people, right? So, but I know I can't say the N-word on Twitch, so I invent a new word called like I don't know, fucking schmug. I don't know. It sounds like a racist. A schmug? Is that bad? That sounds racist. Okay. If I started using that to be disparaging towards black people, I should get banned because I'm just creating new words so that I could be racist. And that's effectively what cracker is. No, it doesn't have the same historical context, but yes, it's intended to be racist towards white people, right? People are latching onto it. Like, there's a bunch of other terms as well, like colonizer is a big one on TikTok. But once it gets widespread and it becomes more universally used to be racist, that's when you say, okay, you can't use this.
People for other words, then it should be universal. If we're not, but I'm for no banning.
Yeah.
But like, do you agree?
Not you get special rights because you're hating on white people.
I think you should get. I unironically think you should get special rights for hating on white people. 100%.
Well, I mean, you do get special rights for hating on white people. Especially if you're a white person and you hate white people, you get social credits from people of color. Like, not even people of color on. You get special social credits from mostly other white people who think that they're woke online. That's what hating on white people gets you. That's why there's a lot of white hate. It's mostly white people who hate on white people because they want to be seen as like one of the good whites. And it's actually a very interesting concept because it has the reversed impact. So I would argue that most of the people who are anti-white online are other white people that want positive attention from people of color, right? And they want to say, I'm one of the good whites. The problem is, and this is one of these things where it's like, what would you call it? Like corrupted allyship, is where oftentimes white people who mean well they will do something that has a negative impact on black people without realizing it, right? So being hateful towards white people causes other white people who need to hear the message of like systemic racism and like racial injustices and difference between the way that white and black people are treated in society. They need to hear these messages. When you call them like crackers and like colonizers, they tune out of the conversation. They don't care anymore. And this is one of those things that happens when it comes to allyship, where it's very toxic, and it's usually white-led toxic allyship that becomes a big problem. And so like that's why it's not good, you know? So
they should actually
I know.
They should actually elevate you. If you make fun of white people, they should I'm white. Like what do you mean? What are you gonna police my speech? I'm fucking white.
That's the thing. If they ban him for saying like anti-white slurs, they're saying like, oh, he's
not white. Yeah.
But Turkey's in the European Union. That's
No,
white.
they're not saying, if they ban him for anti-white slurs, they're not saying he's not white at all. I think that's trying to hide behind being considered that's trying to call Twitch racist for banning him. That's all they're trying to do. They're trying to virtue signal. You're not racist if you like if a black person said the N-word with a hard R at another black person, I imagine they would also get banned. Like, let's not pretend like because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to suggest that Twitch is racist for banning him for saying the word. That's kind of ridiculous.
It's not.
Middle Eastern isn't white.
It's in NATO. It's in NATO. I misspoke.
Yeah.
I woke up earlier.
It's a source.
I didn't
It's a sore spot for Turks.
Yeah. My bad. I misspoke. I know you're not in the EU.
I want to
think
go
you
to
should be.
Turkey. I want to go so
Turkey
bad.
seems sick.
They'll love
I like what Christian Walker said. And they kind of walked over it. Somebody came in my chat the other day and they said, "Do you think that it's racist to say that Hasan's not white?" I was like, "That's an interesting question because to me, Hasan's not white." Sorry for chewing. Give me a second.
you
Yeah.
in Turkey.
And I don't say that in a way where like, oh, there's like an exclusive white club. I don't really give a shit. But like you could tell like a lot Hasan, like people I guess from like Turkey, they look like they wouldn't really be considered white feature wise, right? Like we have very light skinned black people. You can still consider them black just because they're whiter looking. Now I don't really care, right? But like, yeah, I don't think a lot of people would generally consider Hasan white. I also don't think people would be like, oh, you have to stay out of our whiteness. Like, I don't think that that's most people's perspective. I think most people just don't give a shit. I think that's what white privilege really is it's that people don't care about their own race. Like, if you don't really care about your race, you don't have to care about it because you were never treated differently for that. That makes you that gives you white privilege regardless of what color you are. You know. So like, people are saying like, "Oh, he's white." It's like, okay, yeah, I don't really care. It means nothing to me. I would just not consider him white upon first looking at him. I just wouldn't give a shit. And then if he's like, "Oh, he's white," I'd be like, "Okay, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me." Most people would operate in that capacity, but most people wouldn't look at him and go like, "Oh, that's a white guy." Just like a lot of people would look at a black person that might be like really light skinned. They wouldn't say like, "Oh, that person's black." Or they wouldn't say, "Oh, that person's white." They would be like, "Oh, they're black," because it's not just the color of your skin necessarily, but it's also the association of different features that make you look like a particular way. But you know, I don't see color, dude. I don't see color.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay, so wait, what was I gonna say? What were we talking about before? Anti-white
Sorry,
slurs.
music.
Yeah, anti-white slurs. I think yes, it should be allowed, and also not only that, but they should like give me more money when I say anti-white slurs. Like Twitch should be like, "Thank you. Here's your check." That's how it should work. Then other anti-ethnic slurs should be allowed? No. I mean, yes, but like, except for the ones that you know.
Except what? Except what?
The K1. I don't know. I think I should be able to say it, right? But like, I don't know.
He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know.
I'm Jewish. I can say it.
He's saying
like,
he, as a Jewish person, like he should be able to say it. I shouldn't be able to say it. If you're Muslim, you should actually not be able to say it.
Yeah, there's some history there. There's some history. There's some unfortunate history there. Yes, there is. If it was my friend who's
Just
Muslim,
kidding.
if it's my friend who's Muslim, I would be like, okay.
Are you gonna get the pass?
Do you?
Yeah,
Can you do that?
yeah.
Can you give passes?
No Jews do it, but I would like to my friends.
No,
like,
if he's white, can you give?
Is Christian Walker allowed to give the pass? I think that's the better question. That's not a question I can answer you because you know, unfortunately, I know it's surprising to you guys, but I'm not black, so I can't answer. But I think there's a lot of black people who would probably be like, Christian Walker, you can't give the pass. I don't think Christian Walker is asking to give the pass. I'm just saying, you know, it's something interesting to ponder.
Pass for the C word?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
No. The C word pass is universal. It's a ridiculous one that people are getting because like no one has ever been mad. No one has ever actually been mad
But
unless
since
you're like
y'all
a fucking.
ramped up the anti-free speech shit, we're
Man, like I don't like that argument. Nobody's ever been mad about being called cracker. We're gonna say it with an A because that's how it's allowed to be. I'm white. I can do that. Because like the thing is that historically people haven't really cared until it's become serious. Like it's becoming like a really big thing. Like it's so dumb that we have to talk about it, but like yeah, there is like a lot of people are hating on white people, and it makes people upset. When people know the intention that you're hating them, it becomes a big problem. Like we talked about the word female before, and some women don't like the term female. The word female is fine. It's how you use it. So if you use it disrespectfully, it's disrespectful. If you use it respectfully, it becomes respectful, right? Like that's what we're talking about. And like that word specifically, there's been a movement around cracker to use it disrespectfully. And so people were legitimately, unironically getting upset. Now, were there people who were just like, I think we should be able to say all words? Yeah, they were tacking onto that too, which I think is an ignorant perspective. But most people are just like, bro, can you just stop? Like you're trying to annoy us as a group, like white people as a group. That's what you're trying to do. It didn't bother me, but like I could see why it would bother people when they're just like chilling and you're just like, fuck white people. And like, bro, what did I do? Like, I'm white. Why are you telling me to fuck myself? I didn't do anything, bro. I just go to work at 9 to 5 or more than that, probably like 50 hours a week, whatever average American works too much. That has a job. Anyway, why you gotta be hating on me, bro? Especially like you look at it from the perspective of some person online, who cares? But most white people are just out about their day, doing their shit, working and coming home, and then they're like, fuck you for being white, and they're like, bro, I just paid all my taxes. It's like, I'm a truck driver, dude. Why fuck me? You know what I mean? So
open up the anti-white stuff.
Do you think white people are under attack?
I totally do. You're the
I wouldn't call white people under attack, but there is like a rise in like anti-whiteness, and I would say it's usually from other people who are white, like we were talking about before. More people who may be more performative or think that they're doing the right thing. They think that they're educated or they think that they're having the right impact on the conversation when they're not. because there's no positive outcome from reinforcing the idea that we should hate white people. We should be able to use hateful slurs against white people. It just has a negative impact on the conversation about people of color because it causes people to tune out. And it also makes like people who would consider themselves advocates, it makes them feel like they're getting a virtuous win. They're like, oh, see, I hate white people. This is a good thing. Oh, systemic racism exists. You can't be racist towards white people. This is my win. I tune out of all real issues. Redefining the term racism, for instance, that doesn't help a black kid in like the fucking urban area that grew up and got treated like shit. Do you think that is the cops gonna? You think the cops can pull? Excuse me, sir, I'm gonna overticket you now. Oh well, did you know that actually, like, fuck you, whitey, and I can't be racist towards you. Ha! You think that's gonna stop him from getting the ticket? Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't help at all.
Okay. You think white people are under attack? It's good.
No.
I think
no. So you're sitting on here you're like, yeah, F white people did it. Can you imagine if you did that about one other group?
Yeah, it would be bad.
Fuck Italians.
And wrong.
Yeah, so it's
But
bad
it's
with
funny
white
when
people.
but it's funny and cool and good.
Okay,
when it's for
it
white
used to be funny when you could do it to everyone, when you could make like
No.
it was funny when it was universal, you could make fun of everyone, but now
It was funny. In real life, we still have fun with that kind of stuff, bro. Like, I used to work with like a bunch of Hispanic guys, and we used to fuck with each other all the time. And like, they would call me dumb for being fucking white. We'd make fun of them for being Hispanic. It was fun, bro. It was all fun. Everybody loved it, bro. The best friends you're ever gonna make are the ones that you could be racist with. I'm just saying. Okay. It's true, bro.
now so that you can only make fun of white people, it's like, oh, like that's low-hanging fruit, like come up with a better joke.
No, I
Like,
agree.
you know, that's
I
what
agree.
I'm
No, I
saying. It's
agree.
just, like,
I
it's not
agree with
funny
that.
anymore.
I think it's like super basic, which is why like, you know, we should adopt the European style racism, which is like
Banter.
Yeah, ethnic.
Right,
So
well,
like, you know,
yeah.
make fun of Polish people on the virtue of their Polishness or that sort of thing. That's what we should be adopting, but not the anti-Romani part of it.
Wait, if it's like
Well, so the problem with that is like if he's saying like, hey, we should adopt this style of racism, which is more about like their ethnicity, so like, oh, fuck Italians, then why would you keep making general like negative comments about white people as a whole? Like, you can't say, hey, we need to adopt the European style of racism by doing this, 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 and this, and then but then you're reinforcing anti-whiteness. So like, you're the one upholding the construct at this point. Why not be like, no, fuck Italians? I do that all the time. I fuck Italians, man. Italians are losers, bro. A lot of my friends are Italians. Well, you know, that's the inside joke, bro. But you know my point.
like your friends, I think like, yeah, dude, my friend Dave is Punjabi. He's always
making fun of you?
he's always, you know, going on.
How about we
going
give
on
up-
a friend who's like a hillbilly, and we're always like, fuck you. You
I
know?
said, how about we give up racism, bro? What are you, crazy? That's the most fun part of living. I'm just
Oh, okay, good. That's
But like
fine.
banter
Just fun.
It doesn't. The racism doesn't matter when it's between friends. It's just about being rude to your friends. You know what I'm saying? It's just about like talking shit about your friends. Like, that's really the takeaway there. If there wasn't race, you'd make fun of them for their height or their weight, and you still do. You know, those are the fun times. Those are the fun things to criticize people for.
Stuff.
Banter
Yeah,
needs to
of
come
course.
back.
For sure.
Banter's great. You know?
But yeah, as far as like the anti-white stuff, the anti-white people are people of color.
Oh, yeah, this one.
They are.
This
Fuck
slapped.
it,
This
fuck
slapped.
it.
I haven't even seen
But
this,
the
but I
word-
know it slapped. Okay.
It did. Fuck
Oh my
yeah.
god. By the way, people are unironically asking what your skincare routine is.
Oh, I'll give you all my skin after we watch this.
Okay.
White light is made up of a bunch of different colors on the visible light spectrum. The word white functions as a color in every single language
Is white? I think white and black aren't colors, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
that I speak. So I'd appreciate if the racism against white people stopped immediately. White people are people of color. Stop trying to marginalize their voices. Stop trying to silence white voices. White voices matter. White lives matter. White people are people of color. So stop excluding them from the fray.
Love that.
Period.
That was you changed my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just had to educate
yeah.
you a little on visible light spectrum.
Yeah. No, that was brilliant. It was-
Thanks.
you had to go to the sciences.
Yeah.
You had to go to
Hey, he used a lot of facts and science, bro. He Ben Shapiro us.
Just
Hard
the science.
sciences,
Just
yeah.
the science.
yeah, that was pretty good.
See, that's the real thing the CDC should have told us.
Done.
That white people are a color.
Yeah,
so
if they had
stop
done
the
that,
anti-whiteness.
dude, if they had done that, people would have stopped dying of COVID in March. I don't know how, but it would have helped.
So yeah, no, I think that I mean, we're gonna be serious about it. No, I think that like oppression on the virtue of whiteness is not a real thing. Obviously, because whiteness
Not usually. Sometimes it can be, even in America. It really just depends. But the overwhelming majority of the time, like, no, white people aren't going to experience some kind of systemic racism.
as a concept is like built around dominance and exclusion. That's why you know, Barack Obama's not considered a white person, but a black
He
person.
leans into his blackness. He doesn't. My friend.
But what's an interesting thing as well, though, is like, oh, like, I understand that the historical aspect of like whiteness, but it's so interesting. We have to understand that like when new people are born, old ways die off to an extent. The reason I wouldn't say Barack Obama isn't black because he's white is because then black people would yell at me. Black people get mad when you say that they're not black enough, right? So like, I stay out of the conversation. I don't give a fuck. But that's why there's like colorism now, because black people get fucking pissed. Like, if you say that they're not black, they'll fucking kill you, right? It's fucking crazy. And I get it. You know, you don't want to validate their blackness, but like, so the idea is like, back then it definitely was a way to diminish black people. now saying black people are white is diminishing to them. In fact, within their own community, they invalidate other black people by calling them too white. In some instances, if they speak too intelligently. I've talked to like a lot of Nigerian people, a lot of young Nigerian people on the stream, and they're like, yeah, we would move to a predominantly black area, and there was issues between we call them like the non-native black Americans. So like Nigerians, people who are like first generation, I guess you'd call it, or like their parents are first generation, however the fuck you say, migrants, whatever. Versus like native black Americans who have been here, especially since like the times of slavery. There's a lot of fighting between those two groups of people. So then like they'll call like other people white. If you try too hard, maybe you're too white, and they'll invalidate your blackness if you speak too well. So there's a lot of issues that have been ingrained now, and the shift is different. So, you know, I consider Barack Obama. I can't say he's white. I'll get killed, bro. I'll get beat up. I don't want to get beat up, dude. You know?
Friends don't even know
There's
that
not
he's
a-
mixed race. He totally leans into
It doesn't
the
because it
black
doesn't
side.
matter. Like no
No,
one would
no,
ever be like
but-
I would too, bro, honestly. So
Barack Obama's white.
But
you know
no,
what I mean?
but if he's the one who says he's black, etc., etc., he doesn't say he's mixed race. So no, he's not white and he's not black. He's mixed.
I mean, but it doesn't matter. Even if he said he's mixed, oh, you're pro logic. You're saying like, you know, everyone that's
I mean-
everyone that's mixed doesn't say they're biracial. No, but so the point is, it comes from the one drop rule, right? I mean, you know this, I think. Like you were educated in America.
Yes,
I
but
don't
I'm
know.
not living in slave time, so I've moved on.
I know, but like that's where it comes from. It's not like it changed. You
But
know
what
what
do
I
you
mean?
mean? Like, if
But it kind of has changed. This is the problem. Like Christian Walker, I like Christian Walker, but he's not really pressing him. He's like, yeah, that's what it comes from. But now if you invalidate someone's blackness, if they're half black, half white, and you call them white, they will be angry at you. There's a cultural aspect to it now. So it's like we do live in a different time with a different experience and a different understanding. Like I'm sure I know that's where it comes from, but that's changed. Now maybe the black community has like they've claimed the one drop rule almost to say like, no, I'm black, even if I'm not like 100% black, whatever you'd want to say. But it's still now it's like you can't say the opposite or you're invalidating blackness. I don't know if Hasan just doesn't know that or nobody has brought that point up to him ever or what. But like, yeah, it's good to acknowledge the history to change things in a positive way. But we also have to live in like the now times as well and understand that things are different now. So we have to do a mixture between understanding of like his history as well as like what's going on in the present. I think Hasan's not doing that. We're very caught up in like the what would you call it? Like the theoreticals of this entire thing.
someone's considered black or not, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental part of like American societal development. Is it came with the preservation of slavery early on, and all of the fucking attitudes haven't changed. Like you're black, and the reason why you're black. But
I feel like that's not true. The attitude has really changed. Like a lot of white people don't really see color because they don't have to. Like we talked about it before. That's white privilege, bro. You don't have to see your color. You've never been oppressed for your color. And so now most white people, especially since that was the idea of like the past, like my gen, like when I was growing up, it was like, don't see color, treat people exactly equally on an individual level, which I still agree with. Obviously, systemically, we have to have a different conversation. But like, it's different now in general. I don't really see, you don't see somebody go like, oh, they're black. Oh my God, treat them differently. That's, you're supposed to actively work against your internal biases. But now it's like a different field. Like black people want to be called black, even if they're not even if they have like a white parent, as a term of validation. So
not
Thanks
something
for telling
different.
me, Hasan.
No, I mean I know you know this,
Let me know.
but like the reason why the reason why Barack Obama is black is because he has at least like one drop or more of black genes in him that slavers.
Well, a lot-
and it's interesting too as well, because if you found somebody who and you see some TikTok sometimes, if you see somebody who like might have like maybe like their grandfather's black, but they look completely white passing, all white people will be like, oh, you're white. And then if they say like, yeah, sure, like if they ever educated you on it, they wouldn't say, oh, you're black. They would be like, okay, you still look white. It's not until they would say like, oh, well, my grandfather's black, and I would appreciate if you didn't validate my blackness. And then people change their perspective. Most people, funny enough, don't really care about race. There are people who do. There are racists, but like most people don't.
A lot of black
decided-
people don't think biracial people are full black. That's kind of a new movement. So are you speaking for the black?
That's true.
communities?
Colorism.
So there's a lot of like intra-community fighting on shit like that. There's also colorism, yada yada.
So you're just talking.
I personally don't give a shit. Obviously, it's not my business.
I don't like that walk off, because it like you're talking about race and then you're saying, yeah, I don't want to engage in any part of the race conversation that proves me wrong to some extent. I don't like that. Like this is one of those. I understand making sure that you don't speak on issues you're ignorant about, and it's a white thing to do that. I've done it before myself. But you should be able to talk. Like, this is the thing. You should be able to sit down with black people, which I've done multiple times, and have conversations about race and like the different ways that they experience race and the different experiences that they have, which is what I've done. I've talked to like multiple black people on here. on the stream, and then you learn from them telling you like, oh, this is a particular issue. Oh, I don't like to be called not black because it's invalidating to my existence, and so I don't like the I'm going to stay out of like, because that you're staying out of an entire argument that, with that argument's context, diminishes your argument to an extent, and you're like, you're just taking like the walk off, and it makes you seem very virtuous by being like, well, I'm going to stay out of black issues. But realistically speaking, if you're not educating yourself on black issues and like that black experience and that black perspective, like you're just not doing that's not a positive thing. Like we should be able to talk about these things. Have like a black dude that came from the fucking urban area on there or something, because that's like a lot of the black people who've come on here, or like a Nigerian Americans, or like a black guy, or a couple of black people who are from like more urban areas that grew up in like poor areas and shit like that. And we talk about shit, like real shit,
per se. I do watch. Felix and I both watch from afar.
I think I'm
gonna get involved soon though. I'm gonna be like the CIA in Syria and just start funding all different types of groups. I think it's time. I think everyone needs to hear from me on this issue.
Yeah, I agree.
But ultimately, yeah, it's just like that's the reason why whiteness in and of itself is not like something you call out unless you're like a huge bitch. You know what I mean?
He's still butthurt about that ban, bro.
He
probably lost like 5,000 subs, and that fucks him up because he only has 50,000.
Cries about like white people being attacked is like on the basis of being white and not on the basis of being like a worker or any other kind of like actual fucking marginalization. Is a huge bitch.
For 100%. me, it has.
I hate that. It's like, hey, let's like intentionally antagonize white people, and then when they complain about it, let's tell them to go fuck themselves. God, just dumb dick, bro.
To do with we can't.
He lost 10K. Holy shit! How is he gonna maintain?
Joke about anyone else, but you can. Literally, you can hate speech, which I don't believe in, white people, and you're not consequenced for it at all. So
because it's not real.
Right
it's not
in
real.
What's not real about it?
Hate speech against white people is not real. 100%. Like,
I just disagree. He's just wrong. I don't know.
If it was real, then like it can't be real because it's about dominance. Like whiteness is not a real thing.
You're I don't believe whiteness.
I'm so confused. If whiteness isn't a real thing, then why are you upholding whiteness by being anti-white? That's the weird thing about it. It's like, if you're like whiteness doesn't exist, then why are you defending slurs specifically against white people? I just don't understand it. It just doesn't make sense. It's just such a bizarre perspective. It doesn't logically make any fucking sense from his perspective.
White people are supreme to everyone else, but you do, or you believe that society makes them
I don't
supreme?
think
I'm not a white supremacist.
I don't think white people are supreme to anyone else. What I'm simply stating is that whiteness as a concept, historically and in contemporary society, is used as the dominant class of individuals. And whiteness as a concept is expanded throughout history. There was a time when Irish people were not considered white. There was a time when Greek people were not considered white. There was a time when Polish people were not considered white. Jews.
It's sure. So if you're like, hey, whiteness is just a concept, let's get rid of it. Stop upholding it. Like, it's just so bizarre, bro.
Right? So that concept is expanded to create a larger in-group. Now Hispanics are considered white as well. White Hispanics. So
it's kind of crazy because like some Hispanic people want to be like, hey, listen, I think this is the thing. Like Hispanic people were saying like, oh, Hispanic should be like a race or an ethnicity, and people are like, no, it's not. And they're kind of like shitting on Hispanic people, even though Hispanic people do have like, they deal with their own issues in America.
Well,
he is very weirdly obsessed with this subject. I think he's just like caught in this stream of doubling down and tripling and quadrupling down because he's just wrong, and he just needs to continuously express how wrong he is, or just I don't know, reprogram his audience or something.
Have you met a Cuban person? They definitely consider themselves to be white and are very white in general, depending on.
See, and I also don't attach certain qualities to skin color. Like this is a whiteness. This is
no. I know, but as a political concept, that's where the history comes from, and that's precisely what it's being utilized as.
But that's the thing, bro. Is it's like, so as I understand historically, but like look at Christian Walker. Christian Walker has white privilege. I know he's like half black or something, but he has white privilege. He's never had to identify with his race. He's never been oppressed for his race. He's self-admitting that, right? Whiteness is just a thing now that people just like, yeah, oh, you're a white, you're black. It's a categorization now for the majority of Americans on an individual level. Systemically, yeah, for sure, different. But like individually, no. So the concept of whiteness to most white people is just like, oh, you look white, you look black. That's it. It doesn't mean very much to a lot of people that don't have to actually. It doesn't mean much to people who have never lived in an experience where it had to mean something to them. And so like that might be ignorant, but then also you have to understand that if that's their ignorance is not understanding what color really means, because they were never oppressed for their color, then to say like, oh, you're just upholding whiteness because of you're racist, but it's like, no, maybe I just look at somebody and be like, oh, cultural construct, you're white, you're black.
Ultimately, and that's exactly the reason why, from a political point of view, it's like hate speeching someone against white, hate speeching people for being white is ridiculous, and that's why everybody intrinsically.
It is ridiculous. You should probably just stop doing it. It's a weird. Why are we even talking about it?
Understands that it's ridiculous. That's why like most white people would laugh when you say someone is a C word. I can't believe I'm saying C word now because I don't want to get banned, but that's the reason.
We'll move on. So
yeah, I mean probably online, like offline, I guess, but like. If you called somebody that word and you were like truly trying to be hateful, and if it picked up steam, like that's the point. It's not just that the word is like anti-white. right? Like, it's just that, like, you're trying to really make it a word. Stop trying to make it a word. Like I said before, if I created a new word to be racist against any other person of color, they would ban me for it because I'm intentionally trying to be hateful. Like, it doesn't matter, you know?
So we don't get you banned.
No, it's fine. I mean, as long as you don't call someone the C word.
Got it.
Okay.
Well, dude, you showed us a video of you being a white supremacist. What do you mean?
Oh, I think he means like the white people of color video. I think that's as somebody who constantly says things that I know are going to like upset people or like get a reaction. It's just like the type of person I am.
What?
I can tell when someone else is doing that. Like you didn't really. I don't believe that you got up and you're like, oh, I've realized this thing that white.
We
people
all
are
know
people.
I was making a
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Well, I think that he was just trying to be a little divisive. Like, he wasn't trying to be white supremacist.
Unless you're
No, I'm saying that you're not making. I'm saying that it's like you're
The
like,
C word. I really wish we could just be like, hey, cracker. Who cares? In like a non... Like, we should be able... See, that's the thing. Is I think that, like, it's understandable to ban somebody for saying the C word with an R on it. For calling somebody that because it's being anti-white. But, like, we should be able to still use cracker within context of, like, okay, you shouldn't say cracker. On the other hand, there's no racial slur you should be able to use hatefully or within, like, a context online. You know what I mean? Like, this is an English class. This isn't like 4th grade English class where you're reading Catcher in the Rye and the teacher's like, you gotta say it. They call him the whitest kid and they're like, you gotta say it. You're not gonna say it. And they just start railing off the N-word. Like, that's where we're not in English class. You know what I'm saying? The words are still different, you know?
damn, I know this is really gonna get people.
But
I'm gonna get yelled at, and I want to get yelled at.
I mean, it would be funny and
Yeah.
pushy, but I mean, I stand by my
Do you think you could be like anti? You think you could be bigoted against straight people?
straight.
Yeah.
Straight people? Can you be bigoted against straight people? That's a very interesting question. We have to first acknowledge that, like, being straight and being white are two very different things in general. If there was a big movement of hatred against straight people to the point where they were actually creating slurs, like, for sure you could. We're just nowhere near that area, you know? But yeah, I guess you could theoretically, but we're not anywhere close to that area. I mean, what?
Straight people?
I mean, sure. I think you could be have something against straight people. Yeah.
Like if someone was like fucking breeders, like, do you think that that's like hate speech?
I don't think it is now. I think it's funny. But, like, if it was being seriously used, like, sure, I guess you could. But I also think that, yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I guess. Like, it's just such a weird thing. There's a lot here to justify, like, hating a person. It's just such a bizarre thing. Goddamn breeders. I take that as a compliment. I am a breeder. I like to do it. That's my fucking kink, bro. Fuck you.
I mean, I don't believe in hate speech, so any way you talk.
But
don't
like, would you
believe
make a
in hate
defense
speech.
of like people being anti-straight in the same way that you did for people being anti-white?
only if people weren't allowed to make gay jokes, then I sure as hell
So
would.
you're saying heterophobia is?
That's actually a really interesting point that Christian Walker just made. I don't know if he did it intentionally, but, like, I could come on here and I could be like, I mean, I can't say the F slur, but I can make fun. I could say, like, oh, this is gay. There's less acceptability with it of, like, gay people than there is of, like, I guess other people of color. I guess I don't really know. I don't know. Gay jokes are funny. I don't really know. This is just a weird question.
Is technically you're strategically saying heterophobia could be real if homophobia is real.
No, heterophobia could be real if people were serious about it, but nobody's, like, that serious about it. Like, here's the very interesting thing. I understand that, like, white people or black people don't like white people for, like, some kind of a systemic reason. Like, totally get it. And it's racist, but it's more justifiable. I get it. As long as you're not expressing it, who really gives a shit? Just like I'm sure there's gay people who fucking hate straight people. But now there's, like, an active movement to be negative towards white people. Ironically, like we were saying before, it's mostly white people who are upholding the slur to seem virtuous. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. So if there was a big movement of straight people who were like, fuck straight people, then yeah, we would see more. I guess we would see more anti-straightness, but we're not seeing that movement. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Do you think homophobia is real?
I think there's people that hate gays, yeah, and I think there's
What's homophobia?
gays who have things against straights as well. I mean, I don't see that as often as the anti-white stuff.
You think there's gays against straights?
Huh?
You think there's like actual heterophobia?
I don't know, but I think there could be for sure.
I mean, it's like, but you understand, right? It's like the default is like considered straightness, right? So that's part of the reason why it's like ridiculous if someone was like, oh, I can't believe they're making fun of breeders or making fun of cishet people. Like, it would just be ridiculous.
wait, so he said the default is straight. That's interesting. So he's saying that you can't be negative to straight people because that's the default. And I guess because white would be the default in America. Like, I understand that. But I feel like that's the thing, is that straight is still considered defaults for the most part. But whiteness isn't really considered default in America anymore. Like, we're 60% white. We're being more inclusive of a lot of other people of color. So, like, that's probably a big part of the shift as well, is that we're seeing straightness or whiteness as less of the main, whatever word I just used, the default. You know, white is less of the default now, whereas straight is still pretty default.
Well, there's a lot more straight people in the world than white people as well. So
True.
I think white people are a global minority technically.
Well,
so I think white people are a minority. They're a global minority.
True. We're people of color.
But that's because whiteness, in and of itself,
Oh, because you're saying, but
is built on purity. So the only way to preserve whiteness or white people is literally by making sure that miscegenation doesn't happen.
But nobody cares about that, bro. Like, most people don't give a fuck about that. Like, honestly, who gives a shit? Nobody cares about we're all gonna be great at some point. Who cares?
whiteness concept, whiteness as being like a belief, or I reject that and attaching that belief system to a skin color.
Well, like, let me put it this way. He's just saying,
Yeah,
like,
nice
how
cut, thanks,
America
bro.
like moves the goalpost, or like what is white, where it's like, all right, we got to like expand it for this people, like,
But it's not white people like moving the goalposts anymore. That's the thing.
with
So
like Irish people and like Jews and shit.
Yeah.
we're really just like over talk. Like, we're having too like, this is really dragging on this conversation about whiteness. It's just getting preposterous now.
It's like that. It's in the same way that like if you're a Chinese guy in China, that's being white there, kind of. Or if you're like if you're a Gulfi in Saudi Arabia, you're white there.
Right.
Same deal. You
Like,
know?
Like, it's just the default mode. It's
Right,
the
right,
default in group, whatever the default like character class is. You know what I mean? That's just whiteness here in Western, in America especially, because like the concept of black and white is like pretty American. The way that we understand it is like unique.
Well, yeah, because we've had a history of slavery.
And that is it just means
We're
you're
we're like the most diverse white country. I'm pretty sure. You know, racially diverse, I guess you could say. I guess when you consider it in an ethnic stance, we might not be the most diverse, but we're the most racially diverse country. We're 60% white. I'm pretty sure.
in the in class. You're in the dominant in group.
Okay, well, you keep hating on white people whenever you want. I'll defend them, but don't get mad when I make a joke about someone.
Okay, but how? Okay, can you give me an example of how you would defend the white race then, if it is a race, without like coming across like a Nazi?
Well, no, if
Well, that's the thing. It's reactionary defense. It's not like, hey, we need to defend white people. It's like, oh, you're shitting on white people. Well, I want you to stop doing that. Right? If I was just sitting here like, we have to defend white people without any type of antagonism towards white people, that would be racist. We have to preserve whiteness. That's bullshit. That's racist. But if you're like, fuck white people, I'm like, hey, bro, I'm white. Like, please don't say that to me. That's not being racist. It's just like, you don't want to stop being rude to me, bro. Like, it's mean. Stop being a meanie to me, bro. Stop being meanie, bro.
I mean,
Miscegenation,
there
there's no problem with that, right?
was a literal genocidal Twitter space where a group
Genocide.
of people, But
talking about my group chats?
it's real. Y'all, they were calling for white people to literally be exterminated, like sent to camps, literally. And you might
We should exterminate white people, though. That's true. This is the thing, though. You can't just outwardly kill white people. So what we have to do is we have to implement a policy that gives all white people, specifically white 31-year-old bald men, like a free Hispanic big booty Latino girl as a wife, and then my kids won't be white anymore. You know, I mean, not my kid. Like then your kid theoretically, your kid wouldn't be white anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all you have to do. Like, let's actively exterminate the white race by giving them big booty Latina girls. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying, bro. Gotta mix that seed, brother.
I think it's funny. They were.
You think it's funny, though.
No, I was no, but I think
No
they're
shot.
wrong.
You think that's?
But you know that they're not gonna get it together. They're not.
Well,
doing
they're
it.
not. No, they're not going to do. But I'm against that type of like. It's just. It's not cute.
Okay, but notice how you immediately went to like what the other side is saying and your reaction to the other side. Is there a way where you can assume a defensive position to defend the honor and sanctity of the white race without coming across like a Nazi?
But you don't need to do that. That's the problem. This is I find this to be very dishonest. I don't know if Hasan. Okay, there's one of two options. Either Hasan knows he's playing a very disingenuous game, or he's like completely oblivious to like the right way this argument is supposed to be framed. There is no way that you can defend white people in a non-reactionary space without being racist. Like, you can't just wake up one day and be like, we need to preserve the whiteness. Like, no. But as a reaction, like, yes, you can say like, hey, stop being mean to white people. It's just the thing is that Hasan is he's not creating an honest argument or having an honest conversation about this. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it's really just as simple as like, hey, stop fucking being mean. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, just like people defend the black race, defend the Latino.
So you're saying white pride, like as opposed to black pride?
No, if you can have black pride, then you don't have to hate on white people, or white person shouldn't have to hate themselves either.
Well,
you're not a white supremacist just because you think
it's unfortunate. I don't know if Hasan has like a lot of conversations with people. It's unfortunate. Like Christian Walker, I like Christian Walker. I think I don't agree with anything he says. He's just funny to me. So he seems like a nice guy. He's just a little ignorant, in my opinion. It doesn't really seem like Hasan engages with people who really know politics that well. Like I'm not super educated on politics, more educated on social issues. It seems like he doesn't really talk to people that like know what the fuck they're talking about to be able to say. Because he seems like very simple arguments that you could argue against. And like I was saying, like how do you defend whiteness without being antagonized first? You don't. It's racist. But if you're antagonized, you have the ability to defend yourself. That's really it.
Oh, shit, I don't take responsibility for what my ancestors did and I don't hate my skin color. That's not being a white supremacist.
That's not what we're talking about, though. No one should hate their own skin color. That's ridiculous. But
that's so ironic, though, because if you talk shit about somebody for a thing, fundamentally, if you criticize somebody for like a feature they can't change, that's shitty. It's like, oh, you're white, fuck you. It's like, well, okay, well, you're literally saying fuck white people. They can't change that. You know what I'm saying? You can say fuck fat people, though, because you can change that, you fat piece of shit. The fuck's the matter with you, fat fuck? How the fuck are you 350 pounds and diabetic? Like, fuck you, bro. Whoever that is, that person would be upset right now, though. You shouldn't fucking make fun of fat people, though. You know, we're on our own struggle, bro. All right? I've been working out, though. Bow. I'm looking pretty beefy. A little fatty, too, but, you know, not all meat can be lean. You know what I'm saying?
You know, why do you think there's an association with white pride and you know, white supremacy? Do you understand why there's an association with white pride and white supremacy?
Oh, yeah.
This argument doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter to the main conversation of stop being mean to white people. Because he's what is this called? Straw manning? You know?
Because they're fucking culture vultures. Because they're fucking culture vultures. They saw black pride, they saw black power, and they were like, that shit's good, we gotta do it ourselves. And
no, but that's not the same reaction. Like, black pride, or it's not even that they saw black people saying, hey, we're people. And they were like, oh, fuck you, you're not people. White people are forever. That was some people. A lot of people I think are just uneducated on like systemic racism, so they would react because they think that whatever. But again, this is very clear cut. Being mean to white people, you should just stop that. I don't know.
That's why they were like, white power.
If you can have black pride, if you can have Latino pride,
Why
if you
is
can
this
have
going
this,
on
that, the
for
other
so
pride,
long?
then you can have white pride.
But that's, I mean, we got to go back.
I just disagree. But again, Christian Walker has white privilege, so you know.
Go back World War One. This is where everything got fucked up before that. This is really what fucked things up, right?
What's the next conversation?
What's the biggest white group in America?
Homelessness.
It's Germans. Germans took over. Every American's German. Germans, though, when they were showing up, they had their own shit. They took over Wisconsin. They were doing cool shit. They were doing cool shit there. They had their own thing going all over the place. World War One happens. This war that America should have never been involved in. We have nothing to do with these fucking cousins fighting. We have nothing to do with it. But they whipped everyone
terrible
up.
war, destroy the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
Not good.
Fuck that war. They whipped everyone up. They whipped everyone up against the Germans. They're like, it's the fucking Germans' fault. Fuck them. And all these Germans in America were like, we're not German, we're American. And they give up everything. They have no more identity. And then time passes.
What's with the weird thing of like constantly going back to World War I and II when they have a conversation about whiteness and shit?
And then, you know, they can't go back to being German. They can't wear the fucking lederhosen and eat the sausage and do all the shit, the sewer socialism. They can't do that anymore. So if they're getting into any ethnic pride at all, they're just like, oh, pan-whiteism. And it's stupid because it's like all those countries they're born to fight each other. All the European countries, they all hate each other.
Even though they're all quite literally directly related to one another, especially the royal classes are fucking each other and they're all cousins at the same time. Yeah. So much so that they have their own genetic inbreeding diseases that you can trace back to specific royal families. Anyway.
But I'm just saying, like, every place has something to be proud of. Germans should be like into being German.
I totally agree.
I think that it's like all their shit's cool.
So that's what the difference is though. Like,
but
people can trace back their lineage, and almost all white people, even if they have become Americanized after like a million fucking generations of being.
Like, yeah, I agree. You shouldn't be like proud of being white. Like, you should that's usually racist. There's really no way to be proud of being white specifically. You can be proud of being whatever the fuck else you want to be. That's totally fine. That's fine. I get what they're saying when it comes to that, because there's no reason to uphold whiteness, right? Historically, the upholding whiteness is like a racist thing. I totally agree with that, but we have to acknowledge that whiteness just exists. It does still exist, and when you're actively upholding it by being being antagonistic and racist towards white people, you're the one upholding white pride or whiteness in general. The concept of whiteness. Why create more hatred? I don't understand.
Here can trace back their lineage to a specific, country. Like,
right.
White people are like, I'm German and Irish, blah blah blah, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you're living in Chicago, you're Polish. Doesn't matter what you are. If you live in fucking the tri-state, you're Italian. Doesn't matter what your background is. You're just fucking Italian. Massachusetts, area, New England, Irish, and a cop. That's where all the cops come from. So
all the racist cops are Irish and Italian. No joke. Fuck you guys, dude. You're all bastards, bro. Holy fuck, it's bad. I'm just saying, bro. You know? I've dated people with like a lot of people. I've dated a lot of girls that like knew cops and shit, bro. Cops are fucking dickheads, bro. Back in the day, Irish and Italian guys going around beating the fuck out of black people, bro. I'm just saying, bro. All right. I'm not Irish or Italian, so I'm German. So fuck you. You know, German people have never done anything like remotely as racist as that before. So, you know, I can obviously sit here and from a virtuous perspective and say that. Half German. A little Jewish as well. A little ethnically, I believe. My understanding. Apparently, I was talking to my mother. I'm half ethnic Jew, half French from my father's side. Blah, French, bro. Oh my God. Like, what's the fucking dude? What a disappointment when I heard that. See, I have some pride in my Americanness and my Germanness more than anything else. And then I use it to be fun, but I don't actually think that like German people are better than anybody else. But you know, anyway, we're getting on a tangent.
The point is like. Black people obviously don't have that because of racism.
Right.
And
I already know the argument. I'm literally going to go take a piss
Right.
because this is just
Can you
droning on
moves
for the
back
same
to, like,
fucking
what specific
ridiculous
country
thing.
That's when my
comes from?
ancestors stole
I'm just
from
going to take a
slavery
piss
now.
while we're doing
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't do that because of chattel slavery, which is why it was like a collective identity created from the intergenerational trauma and having to, you know, associate with a new thing. But that's it. But that is the main difference between like people having, you know, pride or black pride and white pride. That's the main difference is that like the oppressor taking on the SJW shit of an actually oppressed group.
I wasn't championing white pride. I was championing not hating on white people in the same way you shouldn't hate on any other race. And if you do want to hate on white people, don't cancel someone from work for making a comment about someone else. And I stand by it, and there's nothing like that's my view.
I'm of the personal opinion. I mean, really the only guy who thinks this, that all races should be friends. I'm the first guy to
Fucking
say that.
fucking base. Holy shit. Anyway, okay. But yeah, there's a
My friend
difference
Ben
between,
Morris says hi. I'm sorry. I should have said
Hi,
that.
Ben.
there's a difference between like, you know, someone in Nigeria who has like Nigerian pride versus an African descendant of slaves here in America. That's where that, you know, that's the main difference is that
We were
people were victim to chattel slavery. But yeah, that was really brave take. Thank you. That
I
was,
know.
I just thought someone needed
Someone
to
needed
say
to
it.
say it.
Brave, especially after MLK Day. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Someone say I was inspired.
Okay, so
What are they talking about?
white people are under attack. We established that. Probably the most oppressed. I would say.
For sure.
If there's a group of
In
people that
America, yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I can't.
Taking a poo.
Same with cisgender people.
Yada,
obviously,
yada, yada.
Heterosexuals, all that.
What else do we got here? What did I miss?
especially
Did I
if
miss
you're
anything
anti-vax.
important?
Oh, they are the most
under
marginalized.
attack. No one else.
community too, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, no one. It's like
No one disagrees with that
Where's
at
the
all.
Where's the MLK for anti-vaxxers?
We're waiting on him. And waiting
Yeah,
on
you know
him.
what I mean. I have a dream.
True.
Anti-vaxxers and
get along
vaccine
with
can get
that.
away. Yeah.
You know, I do want to say one thing about anti-vaxxing. It's interesting that like if you don't have a vaccine, you're a lot of times considered an anti-vaxxer. It's like the one drop rule. If you have one drop of the vaccine in you, you're pro-vax. But if you say, "Hey, listen, I don't think you should have to get the vaccine. I think you should be able to make your own personal health choice." All of a sudden, you're an anti-vaxxer. Very interesting, because that's where I used to be. I was like, "Hey, listen, like I don't think I need to get it. I'm very safe. I always wear my mask. I sanitize a lot. I go out. I I regularly test, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I might have high immunities, which would be nice to be able to test that." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I think it's a personal medical choice. I think that's fine. That's not anti-vax. That's where I come from." But you're considered an anti-vaxxer a lot of times. People just say, "Oh, you're an anti-vaxxer." It's like, no, I'm pro-choice, bro. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That we can all go to Applebee's for $5 jalapeno.
Without a
tacos.
passport at the front.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. What else? Oh wait, what do you think about California homelessness?
Fuck it.
What's your take on how do you think we should be dealing with the homelessness crisis?
Probably with universal basic income. We've already addressed how it'll help people move to where they want to move and better areas. So there you go. UBI, baby. That's my
I
only
think
answer.
leaving them in tents on the street or is not the way.
yeah,
That's
we're
not
in
the
agreement there. But like, what do you?
We should just probably just throw them in the sewer at that point. I mean, like we're not thinking about making the sewer a home. Put the tents in the sewers, guys. Jesus, you idiot.
What do you think is the alternative solution?
I don't know. Put them in a homeless shelter.
Well, homeless shelters suck. We already have shelters, but they're
Homeless shelters do suck. That's why UBI is a better alternative. I'm not saying get rid of homeless shelters, but homeless shelters can hit capacity very easily, and they're also not accessible to everybody, and especially people who are in the poorest areas that don't have a lot of infrastructure, right? Same thing goes for like battered women's homes. A lot of times they just send you back after you go there. It's a very temporarily. It's not even a solution at all. It's just like a fucking like stopgap for like 2 days. UBI help you escape a lot of these negative situations in a really positive way. It's not going to completely end all issues, but it's a great first step.
dog shit for the most part.
I mean,
But would you be opposed? Would you be opposed to?
housing and all this bullshit? No.
So you're not opposed to?
Well,
housing?
because we're building housing right now, and I actually had a
I think it'd be a great idea, unironically, to create like tiny homes in areas for homeless people because they're a lot cheaper, like tiny home communities. That would probably be pretty good.
friend who
What's up, baby
I don't know
love?
if he's an architect or what, but he gave me the number on how much it is per unit, and it's more than some low-wage working-class Americans' units are. So no, I don't know what the solution is.
Wait, but
building
But part of the reason why they
housing-
become homeless is quite literally that. What you're talking about is that like it's really, really unaffordable to have a house
I didn't trim my head because I hit my head really hard last night, so it hurts.
If you are a working class individual,
We're not free housing. No, then let's leave them on the streets.
You're not.
And you are not. No,
No,
you're not
no,
fucking way.
but no, I'm not.
Fucking way.
No, but don't even. We're not going down that route.
Wait, why
That's
not?
For sure.
Why not? You don't
Because
think-
it's not. It won't just be homeless. That's not what you're proposing. You're about to go into free universal housing or something.
Yeah,
That's
why not? Why not?
I mean, theoretically, like whatever. I think here's my thing. Here's my why not. Like first of all, UBI, we talked about how like it could really have a positive impact. It would help people that are homeless as well and give them the access to money. You know, if more than anything else, it probably wouldn't help homeless people as much as it would help prevent more people from becoming homeless. I know that sounds like the same thing, but for the most part, a lot of homeless people tend to be like they've tended to turn to drugs and alcohol, and it's like really unfortunate. And it would be a lot more than just putting them in a house to actually help them get like move through that issue. Some people, and this is a harsh take, might be beyond help. I know people who are homeless and lived on the streets, and they're like very, like, you know, drug addled. It's just really unfortunate. And it's one of those things where sometimes when somebody turns to drugs, most of the time they're not going to be able to escape it for various reasons. You know, theoretically it would be great. The thing is I'm more interested in I would give those people UBI, of course, but I'm more interested in helping people, you know, prevent people from crossing the line. Fundamentally, when it comes to anything in life, it's easier to help people on the right side of the line than it is to have them cross the line and come back, right? So like once you like for in general, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, right? And we're gonna do paint because I'm like love drawing, right? So it doesn't matter what your issue is. So you have like issue here, then you have the line, and then you have like the you know, poop. This is what happens, right? So let's say the issue here is like, oh, somebody who does drugs. Well, once they cross the line and become an addict, boom, it's very difficult to cross back. However, it's easier to stop them from even going across the line in the first place. And that's how I feel about a lot of things. And so like UBI would help people be able to turn away. You'd find more job availability. You could have more money to potentially go to you know, get whatever medical issue needed to get treated, especially if you compound that with universal health care in some capacity. I'm fine with creating a baseline floor level for housing. The problem is that like we were talking about before, there's a lot of areas in other places where we have tons of room. If we create economic infrastructure there and people can relocate, I don't think you should have to relocate, but if you can relocate, that would definitely deal with a lot of like the homeless issue in general. So, you know, again, though, I'm not against fundamentally. I don't know if we could practically implement like perfectly free housing, but if we could, I mean, it's not a terrible idea. I just don't know how we would go about doing that. Like I said, dude, tiny home communities, not a bad idea, bro.
No.
Why not?
Why not?
No, I don't want to.
But like explain. You obviously have a point of view, but like, why?
Well, I mean, for a lot of the homeless we have in LA, I don't find this in other cities. It's more of a drug issue, more of a mental health issue, more of a different type of issue, and I don't.
That's because you're seeing like the final tier of homelessness. Most homeless people, 41% plus, I believe, depending on what study you're looking at, still have a job. But you don't see them as homeless. They're invisibly homeless, right? So they have insecure housing. Either they live on people's couches or they're couch surfing, or they live out of their cars and parking lots. And that's like the first tier of homelessness. And that the majority of, or if not every single homeless person's starting point is because they've been priced out of the housing market because rent keeps going up, regardless of whether wages are going up or not. Rent keeps going up. Landlords are fucking pieces of shit.
But like then it's the question of like, why does rent go up? Does rent go up because like landlords are always pieces of shit, or do property taxes go up in order to implement more social services that are ineffective and don't help the people that they need to help? I'm sure it's a mixture of both, and it depends on the person and the area. But I think it's a little ignorant to just completely bypass like, oh, cost of living is going up. Well, why is that? Well, sometimes it's because people are getting taxed out of their like ability to live too. I'm not a let's get rid of taxes guy, but I'm saying it seems to be more of a problem in areas with more robust welfare services. That's where you tend to see like these crazy homeless issues. And part of it is that like you're overburdening some people, overburdening them, overtaxing them, overburdening like the property taxes. And like, what do you think ends up happening from that? Well, that also prices people out of it. You know, so like I think we need to be more intelligent about our welfare services, which is why I'm for really like removing the micromanaging aspect of like, hey, let's give you money for this, rather than like, hey, let's give you money so that you can decide what you want to do with your money. You know,
they keep raising the rents. Homeless people or people no longer can afford rent, so they start living out of their cars and whatnot. Now that is insecure housing. That's a really traumatic experience overall. I'm sure you've never had to experience something like that.
Gotta go to the YMCA, baby.
Where you're like, I don't know if I'll be able to fucking sleep with a shelter over my head, with a roof over my head tonight. It makes it harder.
Maybe
Makes it harder for people to shower and all this like basic stuff that we take for granted, and that's a really traumatizing experience.
You don't need a shower. Shower like once every other day. You know what I'm saying, bro? Showers are overrated.
Then you usually lose your job because you can't deal with like fucking being houseless and insecure. and also keep up a job at the same time. So then you move on to the second tier.
Why? Where are you going, bro? You sleeping in your car? You sleep in the parking lot. You get there early every day. Boom, boom, done. Shower in the rain, bro.
Where like you become a homeless person that like loses their car because they can't make payments or whatever, and then you're living on the street. And that's when you start self-medicating by trying to fucking escape and deal with the trauma by doing drugs and a fuckload of other shit. And that's when you start doing the
You don't think
hard
some
drugs.
people become homeless because they're addicts and that fucks the rest of their life out?
Well,
I'm sure that does happen for sure too. But we do have like an increase of like people self-medicating for a lot of problems. Which we have like a mental health crisis as well. That's also part of the issue. I don't like it when we say that this is the only exclusive problem to this issue. Like, oh, this is the problem. It's like we can't afford things. Well, I'm sure that's absolutely part of it. Then it's like, why can we not afford things? Prices are going up, taxes are going up. Makes it difficult for people to be able to afford to live. For sure. Jobs are disappearing due to automation. That's a big one as well. People are self-medicating. There's more availability of drugs in the area. We had this huge issue with like really horrible drugs that are incredibly addictive being prescribed, and they were considered like safe back then, but now they're not. That's why there's lawsuits, my understanding, going on with drugs like morphine and whatnot, or things in that area. Or maybe not morphine. What am I trying to? Oxycontin? Is that what I'm trying to? You know what I'm talking about. So there are multiple different issues. There's also a mental health crisis. Part of it's probably because I don't think that we're leading our youth in the correct direction. Like when you're like, oh, you can chase your dreams, and then their dreams, you can't chase them, rather than saying like, hey, maybe you could be like this job we need to have so you can have a more fulfilling life. There's an issue there. I think that kids in general are getting a lot more intelligent, and more intelligent people tend to have more mental health issues because they're more self-aware. I don't think that we're considering that as well. That's a big problem as well. There's so many different reasons for all these different things happening. So I think it's something to keep in mind. It's not just a one prescription type of thing.
That's what people think is happening. But if you look at the actual studies, no, the real reason is because people are priced out of their housing market.
Just anecdotally, I've known a lot of pillheads in my life. All of them had houses. All of them like lived in a place. But like, okay, like if you make someone, even make them do it like a fucking year. Like a year of like living on the fucking street, like in and out of shelters, because like, yeah, they're unreliable, they're shitty, they're unfortunately like privately funded, and like most private charities like of varying dependability. But like you make someone live outside where they're always looking over their fucking shoulder and always like making sure that no one's gonna call the cops on them, always making sure that like they're not noticed.
Also there's another reason why people might be having more mental health problems is that we're having less connectiveness as technology advances as well. So there's more technology, less connectiveness, less interpersonal relationships, and so like that's another problem as well. There's so many different things that would contribute to mental health issues and getting people to like not be able to be satisfied in their life as well.
Enough to eat, trying to find a place to like wipe their ass, all these degrading things that like it wouldn't drive anyone crazy like a little bit,
Maybe so for this proposed homelessness initiative of giving out free housing, do you have to pass a drug test in order to live there? No.
Well, you shouldn't have to. That'd be kind of fucking dumb. I mean, like that. Like if you're like, hey, I think it's a little silly to be like, yeah, I think most people who are homeless have drug problems. So we should make them, if they want to have a house, we should make them pass a drug test. Well, that's not going to really get them to the first step of recovery because you have to let addicts live somewhere first before you can treat them for their addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the reality of the situation.
Absolutely not.
Also, it's a lot of money. It's very easy to fake drug test anyway, so it's not even like really worth bothering. Like, oh, you have to pass a weed test. Like, shut the fuck up.
No, why? Who cares? Everybody, can you just
be there for free?
Here's the thing. You're drug free, right? But that is not the commonplace. That's not common for like 90% of Americans. Like the only difference between the fucking person who's living on the streets and like.
What do you mean that's not common for 90% of Americans to be drug free? Where's that statistics from? I feel like that's just a weird. This is a weird counterpoint.
Is addicted to heroin or whatever, and every fucking wine mom that watches MSNBC or Fox News, depending on what they believe in, that is like barred the fuck out in order to like forget how miserable their fucking existence is the fact that one has access to shelter.
Yeah,
and the other.
Well, most people I think would drink as their coping mechanisms. Most of the time, it's people need to cope. I'm very confused with this argument. Like I feel like my argument was decent. Like you can't help people get to recovery until they have the access to recovery, and housing would be one of those things. It's just like, who cares? Fucking 90% of people in America do drugs. It's like, what? Really? What the fuck does that mean, bro? That's a hell of a claim.
Other does it.
I don't meet these moms.
So I don't want
to. I don't.
You live in California. You fucking do.
You have met some Klonopin zombies and not realize it.
Yeah, 1,000%, dude. Are you kidding me? The 1,000-yard stare from like.
Oh, okay, so they're claiming that there are some people that are on medications from like doctors who prescribe. Okay, maybe, sure.
Every mom that you've ever met at a function is barred the fuck out. Okay.
This is just like a weird claim, bro.
Straight up. So the point is like that. It doesn't matter. A housing first policy is actually quite successful in rehabilitating people because you're eliminating one of the largest insecurities that people have.
This is the good argument. The who cares argument is just weird.
It's almost impossible for them to even try to.
Who cares? 90% of people are on drugs. Why say that? It's just a weird fucking thing to say.
Go down the path of rehabilitation. So once you address that major need, right? Once you address that major need, all of a sudden they actually can go down the pathway of rehab and creating better and becoming productive workers again, if that's what people care about. You know what I mean? Anyway, so
another problem too is the lack of job availability, making it so that people have less, I guess, passion, or what do you say, less passion, or they have less motivation to live. They have less purpose. That's the word I'm looking for. Those individuals have less purpose. Like, their jobs can definitely create purpose for people.
That's precisely why I believe in a housing first policy. And countries that do that are very successful. I mean, Red Vienna. Have you ever been to Austria?
I've never been. No.
So Vienna has 65% of Vienna housing is public housing that the government built.
Yeah, I don't want to live in Vienna.
No, it's beautiful though.
Vienna's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Vienna's,
fucking incredible. It's one of the
most
nicest, fucking cities. I would love to live there.
I mean, it's not bad. Like, where would you build the public housing? Like, if you said, "Hey, let's build public housing in like a really cheap area where like nobody fucking goes anyway," like, yeah, sure, I guess. But again, then you have to maintain the economy in those areas, and UBI would be better than like our current welfare program as well. But I'm not against that. I think it depends.
Like, even just like, you don't even have to like Park City, Utah, right? They made like government housing for homeless people. And it was an enormously successful policy. And like, if fiscal conservatism, if that's like your only angle, like I don't have to really give a shit about it, but like if you do, it ended up costing them a lot less money than just the current system of like, all right, we'd have the cops clear people out and play whack-a-mole here. It was
true, because then you put them in jail, they have to provide services for that, and then like, what are you gonna like? It's crazy. It costs a lot of money to put people in jail and prison.
Broadly successful. I don't know. Everyone should be in favor of it.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City too. I thought this park like
just fucking put them on balloon houses and send them into the sky that slowly floats to the sun, and then we don't worry about them anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Park City, Utah.
This is their public housing.
Dude.
It's fucking sick. It's so sick. Their affordable housing is like 65% of Vienna's housing units that are available are quite literally built by the government. They're super cheap. They're super affordable for people, and people want to live in those spaces. Like, these are spaces that foster communities. These are spaces that have like fucking schools and gyms and shit. Like,
I'm wondering, this is like a just general question. Like, what's stopping somebody who makes good money from living in those houses? Like, what's stopping somebody from doing that? Like, are you only allowed to live there if you don't make enough money? And then the next question would be, when do you get kicked out? If you make too much money, do you get kicked out? Because I think it's a cool idea to have like public housing in general. Like, it's a nice idea, but then it's like, oh, well, you make too much money, now you're out. So that's going to de-incentivize people from wanting to make too much money so that they don't lose their place to live, which is a bit of an issue with our welfare system. That's why I don't like micromanage welfare systems. I'm just saying. Or maybe the issue is it's not private, so people may there's not enough privacy. You know what I mean? That's the problem that I have with like the way that we operate health, like our welfare programs, is that there are aspects to it that become like there's aspects to it that can incentivize the be like not good behavior, I guess you'd say. Like, if you give, like, you're going to see like people not going to work as hard, and I don't blame them. If they live in a house where they'll get kicked out once they hit a certain amount. So I'm just wondering like the logistics of it, because then they're like, oh, I can't make more money or I'm going to lose my housing. And obviously that's a real threat. I wouldn't want to make more money either. I would stay where I am. But we shouldn't be decentivizing hard work and then trying to climb the ladder to be able to like work harder and stuff. I'm just curious about how all of it would pan out, or maybe you would let people live there. It would just be based on your wage. I guess you could do that. So it's like, oh, if you make under $10,000, it's free. But then if you make $20,000, we're going to charge you $100 a month. Something that's not burdening in any real capacity. That's just like a light increase as you get more. It's like, oh, you make $50,000 a year, we're going to charge you $1,000 or $1,500. I don't think you could do a time limit, because then people that aren't able to find jobs are just going to be kicked out, and we're going to start the problem all over again. You know what I'm saying? But you get my point. Just something to make sure that the system works in the correct way, because you don't want to encourage people, you know what I'm saying? You want to allow people to be able to like work up if they can work up and stuff like that.
Like that. So you get like you actually are coexisting with other people. It's a wonderful system.
Sounds really lame. I don't want to be around anybody. Fuck that shit, bro.
That's I think it's brilliant. I wish we could have shit like this.
And like, honestly, like, we should want all people to feel the maximum amount of dignity and togetherness that is possible.
Nah, fuck that shit. I hope you all cry yourselves to sleep. Piss in the road for me, you piece of shit. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is it, man.
That?
Yeah. So that the official government line isn't just like, all right, well, if you fuck up, you're gonna sleep outside.
And the worst part about it is like, we have enough money to do this shit. That's the worst fucking part about it, is that like the only reason why we don't do this shit is so that both liberal and Republican fucking rich like homeowners can continue using their fucking homes as an investment vehicle. And I say this as someone who's fucking living in a very nice house that I bought.
It does come off a little like kind of ironic for you to criticize this thing that you kind of engage in.
That I do not care for as an investment opportunity, but instead like shelter for me and my family. You know what I mean? I think it's really fucking stupid that we have to treat homeownership like an investment vehicle, and that's precisely why we can't ever do anything like public housing, because God forbid we have affordable housing units available to people, then everyone's home prices are going to go down, and oh no, we can't have that. We can't have that happen because no one wants to fucking live in their house for 30 years. Everyone wants to, you know, move out and like.
I mean, that's fair though. You know, it's also crazy because in New York on Long Island, we have a ferry that goes from Long Island to Connecticut. If we just create a bridge, which we totally could do from like the middle of Long Island to Connecticut, you'd be able, there'd be so many better job opportunities. Different people could commute to work and like they could drive like 45 minutes across the bridge or whatever from their house to fucking Connecticut from across. They don't do it because rich people like to live on Eastern Long Island all the way out east and have like these fancy fucking exclusive bullshits that are like a pain in the ass to go through. So, right, like I'm gonna draw a quick map here, right? So it's like here's fucking like here's me not able to zoom in. Here's like Long Island right here. Like this is Long Island right here. And then it kind of like goes through New York. And then over here is Connecticut, right? This is Long Island. Kind of just looks like a penis. Like a with balls. You got, so like, you know, you have like out east. This is for like all the rich people. They usually live more out east more. And then like you have like Sunrise Highway that kind of runs through here. And like right over here, around here, there's like a ferry, right? And like we could build a bridge that connects from Connecticut to here, and that could potentially open up a lot of job opportunities. But we just don't do that, right? Because if we did that, the ferry takes a long time and is only available at certain times, so it's completely unreliable or inconsistent. It's not consistent enough. It's not consistent enough to work, right? So instead, you got to drive all the way over here. You got to drive all the way over here. You can't really do this because it crosses through like New York City at some point. Somewhere in here is New York City. Like these are like right in this area is like New York City. And it creates like a big problem, and it makes it so that you're not like unable to. It just makes it unable to commute. It's like fucking rich people, bro. It's fucking ridiculous, you know.
Move on to bigger and better things.
That's what's fun about our country.
But
I mean, it's not fun for that many people anymore. We have less social mobility than Europe.
Yeah,
Like,
it has decreased a lot.
I mean, Europe's beating us in that. The place like we're
yeah,
more.
can you imagine getting cucked by those freaking Europeans, dude?
To Europeans?
Yeah, especially those fucking Turkish people in the European Union. Pieces of shit.
Bullshit, dude.
They only just got rid of their monarchs. Some haven't even done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like England still has the fucking queen. You know what I mean?
That's
That is true. It's fucking insane that they still pay taxes to the queen for no reason. There's literally no reason to pay taxes to the queen.
Yeah, no. That's why I want to nationalize our healthcare. They get to have that one over us. Fuck that.
Like, look, one of my moderators is quite literally Belgian, okay? Doesn't even have a government, and he's saying, get fucked right now. You want to get owned by Belgians? Like, not even a real country, and is able to make fun of Americans on that front. There's no point in asking him to answer these questions because he's going to give the answers that response every Republican gives. They don't know how to think hard, so they result in impossible fix, and we should ignore it.
Just because I don't want to do it your way doesn't mean it's...
Okay, but to be fair, you haven't really given a good way so far when I asked you some questions. So there's...
But that's the problem with this kind of
Okay, but to be fair...
Okay, so like I don't think Christian Walker's given a great reason for these issues either, totally. But just the fact that they're having a conversation, I think people don't. This is just kind of an antagonistic point, and I think Hasan reinforcing it isn't the right way to operate. I think it's a bit ignorant, and the reason I say that is because the way that you change people's minds isn't in an immediate sense. Like most of the time, when you learn a new topic or anything, or when I've had a conversation, maybe this is too anecdotal, but I think this is how most people operate. You will present an idea to somebody, and it's not something that they're not going to believe for a while. It clicks though. They'll usually like thinking about things and then it'll kind of click. And so Christian Walker could very well, like if he has a positive experience in the conversation and he listens to what Hasan says, these things might click for him later on and be like, oh, you know what? But instead it's like kind of like antagonistic. Well, you haven't given us a good solution. Well, that's because Christian Walker isn't particularly like politically educated or socially educated because he never had to be, you know? But like, it would be good if you brought on a conservative who had the answers to these, which there are plenty of people who would, but you simply don't seem to engage in that kind of like conversation. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like he doesn't really talk to more intelligent conservatives. Bro, there's a fucking demon in my house. Oh, it's my wife.
To think hard, so they result in impossible fix, and we should ignore it.
Just because I don't want to do it your way doesn't mean it's...
Okay, but to be fair, you haven't really given a good way so far when I asked you some questions. So there's some truth to that.
To fix Californians fucked
up
issues.
Not to fix California, but like homelessness. Like I asked you how to deal with homelessness, and
I said I want to put them in homeless shelters. End of discussion. Get them off the streets. Put them in homeless shelters for a temporary amount of time. If you maybe we incentivize with different options like temporary housing if you can pass a drug test, etc. But no, I don't want to build universal housing for people. I don't.
I think we definitely should do that.
Yeah, I feel like that's
because that's not working right now. What you're describing quite literally is what the system that we supposedly have right now. That's supposed to be.
But we don't, or they wouldn't all be out on the street. So clearly something needs to change. But
no, we do have that. The reason why they're out on the street, regardless, is because Homeless shelters are just fucking god awful for the most part. You can't bring your stuff with you. You can't bring your dog with you. They're open for sexual harassment and assault there at a higher likelihood than you would be out in the fucking street when you have no protection. And then also on top of that, most importantly, shelters literally fucking, like, one, they kick people out during the day. Shelters also won't let you stay there if you can't quit cold turkey, which is like in most circumstances.
So
What we should do is we should operate homeless shelters like we do animal shelters. Like, you know how they have, like, you know, after nobody adopts you for like, you know, a week. Sorry, bro, you're dead. Maybe we do that to homeless people. That will solve the. We would have less homeless people, and then you could use them as food to feed other homeless people and ducks. So when you really think about it, maybe we're just doing things the wrong way, you know? Or geese. You feed geese. You know what I'm saying? There you go. It's not a bad idea. I got you
not
thinking
just hard,
now.
but also a threat to your life. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's a big part of the problem.
well, then let's reform that system, but no, not building universal housing so people can just
Does Mama Gut have a channel? No, we have the Mom and Papa Gut channel though.
hang out for as long as they want and
But, like,
just
why
live
not?
there.
But
Because
why-
no, I don't want to pay for it. That's why.
You don't
I
want
don't
to
want to pay for it.
But
How about
if there's no one that is like no homeless people, but universal housing, you still don't want to pay for it.
No, I still don't want to pay for it. And also, I propose this idea. Let's do it, but if you're for it, you pay for it. How about that? Because there seems to be so many people for it. So if there's all
Oh, okay. So then, like, only progressives would be for it. That's like weird though, because providing a solution to homelessness, regardless of where you are, that is a positive step for like society. That's just positive for everybody. It gives you a safety net in case you become homeless. It allows more like worker availability. It gets people off the street. It actually would increase like your property values, I guess, or increase the niceness of your area. So, like, you should contribute to that. This is kind of silly. It's crazy. Like, you could do it, but you pay for it. Well, go live in another fucking country then, bro. What do you want me to tell you? You know, if we advocate as a general rule if most of society says we need a thing, then, like, you should pay for that thing. And if you hate it and you have a lot of money, you go fuck yourself. You leave, you know?
But I
these
do pay
people that
for
are
it.
You probably won't, though, because a lot of rich people and businesses, they actually benefit a lot from infrastructure. Like, businesses benefit a lot from every welfare program, right? So they benefit a lot from roads. They benefit a lot from like hospitals, fire department. I know hospitals aren't like, we don't have a universal ship, but you know, if you go there and you need help, you can still go there, whatever. But anyway, taking that one out, you got fire departments, police officers, all these things, but also from like welfare. I mean, where do you think Walmart gets their money from? Fucking people on welfare spending their money at Walmart. They get a lot of money from that as well. And then they don't have to pay their workers that well. So they get to have their workers go on welfare. A lot of businesses benefit drastically from a lot of these different things.
for it.
I
then,
don't. I already paid
well,
for it.
let's propose that then. Everybody who's for it pays for it, and everybody who doesn't want
But
to
that, you
doesn't
can't
have
do
to
that.
pay into it.
I mean, the
Why?
reason why you can't do that is because
Well, I know we can.
people
but
are
why not?
incredibly selfish, and they'll just say, "I'm not going to fucking pay for it," and then that will never be funded. That will
Okay.
never
True.
get adequate
That's
funding.
exactly
And
what
that's not how this works anyway. Like, you should be able to.
Well, if we took every liberal celebrity that has tons of money and they just merged all their money together to build sustainable options, I'm sure it could be done.
no,
Absolutely.
it still wouldn't, because
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
you still need to.
Only a state can really do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things that only, like...
Well, I know
are
because
only
of
done,
regulations, because of-
possible the capacity of state.
Yeah.
Well, not for it.
I mean, it's like how much... People do spend a lot of effort on philanthropy. The problem with philanthropy is that it's mostly just a tax dodge vehicle for liberal
Really
and
people.
conservative.
Yeah.
I don't
with
see
money.
anything wrong with that at
And it's
all.
also wait.
He's-
You don't have anything wrong with the way that 501c3s are created in this country?
I don't have a problem with someone getting a tax write-off for doing something good, no.
Oh no, but the 501c3s and the way that they're created is just to like have fucking high paying CEOs for the most part. Like,
Oh.
that barely ever fucking
Do anything
They
yourself.
barely ever do anything. That's why mutual aid is better than 501c3s in like 99% of the circumstances. But also, you know, the thing is, like, people don't realize how they
What's interesting about that argument that Christian Walker had, he's like, if all the liberal celebrities got together and used all their money, they could fix all the problems in like a particular area. It's like, okay, so then like, what's stopping me from saying if we made all the rich celebrities give all their money, we could solve every problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck?
benefit from things that are good for the collective good. Like, when asked, most people would say they don't use the highways or they don't use the roads. Why should I pay for it? I don't use the roads, but you fucking do. Or public transit. Why would I pay for public transit if it was going to come out of my taxes when I'm never going to ride the bus? I got my fucking Range Rover. You know what I mean? You know, let's go Brandon. It's expensive, but I can pay for it, right? But what you don't recognize in that situation is like an adequate public transit system actually makes traffic less awful
Congested.
and less congested overall for everyone. And that's precisely why.
But it also allows my McDonald's fast food workers to get to McDonald's so I can drive there and eat it. You got to keep, and that's like obviously like a weird joke, but it's also true. Like it contributes to like our infrastructure, like it's like our economic infrastructure. People can get to work. You know what I'm saying? Like people that can't afford a car can get to work. So they can be poor, but also still be able to have a job, which is what the general desire is poor people to work out of their poorness, And if you can take a bus instead of, drive a fucking car because you can't afford the car, boom, you'll have an easier time getting a job. And flipping burgers for me, bitch. You poor piece of fucking shit. I'm just kidding. But seriously, outside of that last part.
The government in a lot of instances has to do something. Unfortunately, in America, we don't have a government that does something. We have a government that does nothing other than, operate as like this fucking state that takes money away from taxpayers and offers corporate subsidies to this like patchwork of corporations that are going to overtake the place of the government in most instances and do a shitty fucking job at it because all they care about is profits. That's it.
Probably. I feel like we can have the corporations if they didn't have as much power, and the profits are not that big of a deal. It's just how corrupt our government is. But I agree overall.
You know what I mean?
Period.
Even the workers who built his Range Rover used the bus to get to the factory to build it, so he still benefits. Yeah, I mean, of course. It's like, yeah.
All right, what's the
Do
last
you think
one?
the United States is a meritocracy where people with merit actually succeed?
Oh, bro, come on. I hate this conversation. The United States it's a mixture between like the fuck is the word, bro? Meritocracy, yes. Like you can work hard, but then also nepotism. Meritocracy and nepotism, right? So it's a mixture between getting a job because you know somebody, but then also getting a job because you are a hard worker. When I worked at the bus company, I got my job because my uncle worked there for sure. I kept my job and I got promoted because I was a good worker. Like they didn't promote everybody. Like I got promoted because I was a good worker. I was like fast. I was efficient. Which is funny because I'm fat, but I knew exactly how to get the job done. I was good at my job, so I got promotions. My wife, there's literally no nepotism in her job, and she's a behavioral specialist. Like she's a good worker. They want to move her like all over the place if they could, but she doesn't want to because that's too much fucking work. Because all the other people suck. She's the best. It's a mixture between the two. I just don't like the idea that like the general idea of like, oh no, it's all nepotism. It's like it's not, man. It isn't. It's a mixture between. Now, is it less meritocracy than it used to be? Probably, but I don't like the general prescriptions of like, oh, here's a problem that is probably very complicated. Here's the one, but I'm just going to focus on one aspect of it rather than really try to contextualize everything.
A lot of the time, yeah.
Really?
I don't think it's universal, no, but for a lot of people, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
I don't agree with that at all.
I mean, you don't think it's possible to work your way up with merit? Like literally.
It's
I mean, this is anecdotal, but like it's just not true. So that's so many people's stories. So
I mean, no, it definitely happens. It happens less than in places that have like the
happens less than it used to, but it still does exist. I like
less of a fuck you, pay me than we do. Like not like no one's gonna call like any of these like EU nations socialist by any meaningful definition, but people are less on their own there, and they have more social mobility. More people move up than they do here.
Yeah.
In the last 30 years.
okay.
Like, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in if I didn't have a good spawn point. Okay, my family relatively affluent in Turkey, right? And despite the fact that my dad lost everything by the time I went to college, it doesn't matter because the affluent beginning that I got in the form of a great education and all this other stuff, not being burdened with like debt or
This is just like a weird kind of dishonest argument because this isn't the same thing. Like this isn't the same thing as like a meritocracy versus like what I would say was like more of a nepotism. First of all, his uncle gave him his job. Like none of the other things matter. Like yeah, if you have a better starting point, you're gonna have a better more success in life. That's generally what's going to happen. And we could give more people better starting points. But I feel like when you wouldn't juxtapose meritocracy with having more opportunity, because meritocracy at its core is just working hard to be able to earn things for yourself. Having more tools to do that is a supporting argument to meritocracy for sure. But like you wouldn't say like, oh well, you wouldn't say like you wouldn't nepotism would be the opposite argument to meritocracy, right? We're gonna paint again for fun. Right, so you have working hard, you have meritocracy, working hard. We should make sure. I know that's what that word means, right? I got to make sure. Just so now I feel stupid. I feel like I'm saying it so many times that like the word has lost all meaning to me. Okay. Did I just not know what the fuck meritocracy is? It's merit. It's based on merit, right? It's based on your merit. Yeah. I think I have this right. I feel like I have this right generally well enough, or else I'm gonna look really fucking stupid. Yeah, so it's like a group of people whose progress is based on their ability and talent rather than on like class, wealth, and privilege. Okay. I guess then that would be a little bit the reverse argument. Like, okay, let's get rid of the paint. But my point is that like if we are, I think that there's a mixture between merit-based and Like, it's always going to be nepotism. Is always going to be there. We need more social mobility. Obviously, we need to have better starting points for people with like a UBI and better education for sure. But I wouldn't say like yeah, sure. That's my argument I'm going to make there.
Or having to work or anything like that, and being able to focus on myself and my education gave me the opportunities that
Absolutely.
Well, your uncle gave you a job. Like, it's unironic. Like, that's fine. Just say like, my uncle gave me it was, yeah, you grew up and you were intelligent and you were affluent in your country, and then your uncle gave you a job, and then you kind of just steamrolled off there, and then yeah, like, that's pretty much what it is. For sure, that can be the experience of some people. I have a very similar experience in a smaller way because I used to work for like about, I was able to work my way up in the bus company. Obviously, like, being intelligent and being in accelerated classes, even though I fucking dropped out, made me like a much better at the job. I was overqualified for a bus cleaning manager position, like, drastically. But then like because I was overqualified, I got like, promoted, and that's part of it because of like the way that I grew up and I was able to do these certain things. But like, there are people like, I don't think that. Yeah, we need more social mobility, but
I have now. But that's not so social safety nets would make up for that.
Well, both my parents grew up extremely poor, worked their way up. So it's just like we can play this game of stories, but
like one of your parents.
That's
true.
No, my parents zero. My dad got fat.
But what I'm saying is like he had.
Oh, athletic ability. Well, some people have
not
ability.
Not just like athletic ability, but like one of the most amazing athletic abilities of all time.
And my stepdad had no athletic ability. I think he's probably has a really high IQ, sure, built a business, has much more money than my father. I mean, yeah, maybe I do not want to all end up at the same place. I want people who have a special skill to get rewarded for that skill, whether that's a brain skill, whether that's an athletic skill, that's what I want.
But do you think that like the children of a guy who has no skills, who just, hey, every day's a gamble for him and he always loses, do you think they deserve to like live in misery, like to live without dignity?
Yeah, I do.
No,
to like worry about where they're gonna live? No,
but there's so many kids with parents who have special skills, and those parents blow their special skill off, and that's on the parent.
But like, what about what about the kid though? Like, is the kid just fucked then?
No, but what do you propose?
Well, yes.
Like, do you think
that there's like government housing?
We have government housing.
No, we don't.
We want better government housing.
No, we don't have government housing.
Not to the extent that we need it. I'm proposing that just there is a basic guarantee of human dignity.
Yeah,
like that other countries have. That you're not just totally fucked if your dad is like, oh, I spent all the bread money.
Yeah,
sure.
Or on unleaded gas to win a street race and I lost.
I don't think that disproves that there is a level of meritocracy, though. That's the problem. I don't think that it proves that like people can't work hard and climb the ladder. We just don't have the same opportunity as much because we need to have better, better education and like better safety nets, universal basic income, blah blah blah. You get what I'm saying?
Because there's a lot of people I've known guys like that, and sometimes they have kids.
Or depending on where you're born, right? Like, you can't honestly say, obviously, that like some kid born into like a rich executive producer's family in Beverly Hills has the same starting point as
no,
like,
I don't want to solve, but they should have an extra start. Their parent worked to give them that starting point. So
no.
You're saying fuck what that parent put in. No, he has the starting point because someone worked for it, and they should have that starting point because it was worked for. It didn't come from something random.
Well, you're missing my point. What I'm trying to say is that people are always going to have additional advantages. That's a given. I'm not advocating for like the equality of outcome or whatever the fuck Republicans think like leftists believe in. Okay, that's not a real thing because look at the NBA. There's always going to be someone that's taller, someone that's faster, someone that's stronger, someone with more skill. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm simply stating is being able to offer every single citizen, every single individual that steps foot inside of the U.S. fucking border, okay?
Oh yeah,
across the board,
no.
a same.
Is it every citizen that steps inside of the border? Like, yeah, fuck yes. If you're a citizen, then you would be entitled to this. Like, what the fuck? He didn't say every person that comes here illegally or not. He said every citizen. I don't know why he'd say fuck no. Just a suggestion of that they might be an immigrant is like a fucking triggering moment for Christian Walker. It's crazy.
Level of base material equality on a same starting point that addresses all of their humanly interests and needs so that everyone can prosper and everyone can have lead a life of dignity.
And so like the way that I look at it is like this with pain, because I love pain. I'm fucking on it, right? So like generally speaking, we would just want to create a floor for poverty. For me, UBI, blah blah blah. This floor is very tilted. I don't know why I'm drawing today. Obviously, though, if you're rich and you have a better starting point, I think that generally speaking, there are definitely abuses when it comes to rich people. Like CEOs, a lot of times, like who the fuck cares about those people? But then there are people like doctors and whatnot that should have a better starting point. Like if you're more valuable to society, you should have a better starting point. That doesn't mean that if you're not as valuable, you shouldn't have a decent starting point. So you should this looks like a toothbrush. So even I'm just gonna draw a toothbrush now. So even if you don't come from like a family that has a particular skill, let's say that you come from like a family of fast food workers, right? They're not super beneficial to the economy or to society. Now they are still beneficial, but they're not more beneficial than like a doctor per se. So the doctor should make more money because he has a more valuable skill set, right? But still, the kids of the person of the parents that flip burgers, because it's still a job, should be able to grow up without like being completely devastated and fucked. Right, so like you'd allow them with like a glass floor, decent education, access to like a decent place to live, somewhere like they can live that's not going to stress them out and cause them more stress, shit like that. Yeah, I agree with that, but I do think that people should be like, my mom worked for White Castle and she worked her ass off, so she became like, she ran like half of Long Island, so she made decent money. You know, obviously, you know, we would make a reasonable assumption that her being more valuable to the economy would breed somebody that's more valuable to the economy afterwards. It doesn't mean that doesn't mean that's how everything works. But yeah, there should be a more merit-based system for sure. I like this toothbrush, bro. It's really cool. Maybe I should sell this as an NFT, bro. Sheesh. Okay.
And I could like, get on board with something you were saying. If you didn't say anybody who steps over the border, why are you when we have Americans who can't?
We said any American citizen that comes over across the border.
But you don't even wait. But okay. So you'd be fine. So you'd be fine if we had a stronger border.
If we had a stronger border, we talked immigration, then we could discuss it. Sure. I don't
we
know
could discuss it. We could discuss what.
But when we're bringing,
we could discuss it. It's like,
but you won't even say yes to that.
like,
no.
You won't even say yes to that, even if we had.
We could discuss
you won't even say yes to that, even if we
I've
had.
used that one too many times in my life to know what that means. To not know what that means, rather.
Yeah, no.
So you're against, like, even though
he's getting really pissed towards the end of this conversation, like Christian Walker. What the fuck?
I don't know what you're saying. You're saying I'm against universal, but y'all pitch it in a way where you say, oh, it's just the bare minimum for people. Yeah. No, lots of people are surviving at the bare minimum.
Well, yeah, it's the bare minimum is socially constructed. Like, what we have to have a conversation about what the bare minimum should be. Like, the bare minimum should be having like a place to live and this, that, and the other thing. You know, now I get some of the conservatives be like, yeah, but well, how come there are so many poor people with like fucking iPhones? Like, I get that. Like, the bare minimum should be like have a fucking flip phone or something. You don't, because there is an issue with some poor people buying outside, like living outside of their what they should be living on. That is like a thing that people do. People do it in general. It is absolutely a thing, and I'm going to acknowledge it. And I understand that that's part of the problem. But like still, like you could provide like, hey, here's a nice house, you know, shit like that. You know, here's some housing and food. So I think that UBI would be great for that. People have different solutions, but you get my point.
On the horrible welfare system that we have. So no,
BlackBerry phone, bro. Dude, I want a flip phone. I wish they made better like flip phones. Like they make the new flip phones now that have the entire the LCD screen flips. Like or whatever they call it. The screen flips, right? So like they have the whole screen flip and it's like, "Oh my goodness, how cool is that?" No, because it breaks all the time. The fucking ones for the Verizon store, they weren't working. How ridiculous is that? It was like, yeah, there's a split there. It just doesn't work. It's like, I don't want an LCD screen that splits. Give me a flip phone that's like a really nice phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me a nice flip phone that just has the screen of the flip. Give me the tactile numbers, or just create two separate screens that split in the middle. And I could press the buttons and do it like that. Don't fucking give me a whole screen that folds, because I like the flip phone thing. Like, pop it out. Boom, 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 boom. It's cool stuff. I like that old school shit. But they only make the shit ones. I want to still be able to play Clash Royale on my flip phone. You know what I'm saying?
People are surviving off it. But so then you say, but what is your bare minimum? A luxury apartment? Like
a bare minimum is like adequate shelter that has like actual fucking hot water, cold water, like
even if you're not working on your life at all.
Plenty of rats so that you can eat. Duh. Like these.
Like
yes, yeah, 100%.
Like, why not? If a kid's parent is like, fuck, like just. Like,
wait, we're debating. Christian Walker's debating whether you should have hot and cold water. I mean, come on. Like, I feel like we could like get hot and cold water. That's not bad. You know what I mean? Like, they have like these small apartments in like Japan. Make the house like make it that big per person. It doesn't need to be this huge fucking space. We can be very efficient about our spaces. You know.
Up. They can't get it together, whatever reason. Whether you want to say it's because they're a bad person.
Well, let's do something for kids then. Let's have a
program for kids. They're gonna live with their parent. Like, why should they have to live at a fucking bus stop because their dad like fucks up all the time?
No, they're.
Wait, now what does he want? Like to just like take kids away from their parents? That's probably worse. What the fuck?
It's elderly, non-productive workers or like unproductive people that are not a part of like the labor class or whatever should still deserve a life of dignity, especially because we can fucking pay for it. If your fear on the other hand is that like, well, then we're not going to incentivize these people to like work hard or whatever. You're not incentivized to fucking work hard right now, but yet you still do, right?
I think I am, yeah.
What is your incentive?
I want more than even my parents are willing to give me.
Okay, but like you have been afforded a base.
You just like proved it's not right at that point. You know,
you've been afforded.
Like I was saying before, there can be like you can. One of the parts of I think that is incentivizing particular things is the realistic nature of that thing existing. So for somebody who's born into like a rich family, you know, a lot of times it's the instillment of values of like good parents that's a part of it to like make you want to work hard even if you may not necessarily need to. But also it's like how realistic is your effort going to be? Like if I put a ton of effort into a thing, what's the practicality that I will be able to get more out of that thing? When you have more money and you tend to be, you know, richer and whatnot, you tend to like have more capacity to put like and have more hope that it will turn out better if you put more energy into your thing. So I was talking about before, like if we gave people apartments, like how would we make sure that they would still want to work harder. My biggest concern was that like you would tell them that they would lose access to their apartments or something, for instance, if they made too much money. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to clarify that.
A life of luxury from because of who your parents are, and yet you still want more. That a lot of people strive for that, except they don't even have like their needs taken care of.
I'd say if you pooled all celebrity children, yeah, there's a lot of celebrity children who work hard, and yeah, sure. But if the majority don't, I would say the majority don't want more than they have.
Yeah, and they shouldn't die. Is my point.
No,
but okay, that's fine. Like their parents worked hard, they no longer have to,
and like not everybody has to go for the moon. I mean, we still need low skilled labor and whatnot. So.
That's fine. If they don't want to work hard, that's fine. What I'm simply stating is that there's plenty of people. Like you got fucking kids, their parents are teachers in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? They're making like 28 grand a fucking year. They have to do Uber on top of that. Like that child should not be in a worse situation overall. Like that child should be taken care of. That parent should be taken care of. There should be fucking
Aren't
housing.
they being taken care of?
No,
there
not at all.
are people who
they're living under a bridge. They can't afford food. Like
they're living.
Well, I mean, like you're talking about underpaid teachers in other states. Like, yeah, first of all, UBI would be great for that. But yeah, like it's a weird take to be like, yeah, those 28. I mean, like teachers should make enough to live and not have to work another job. Why would you want the person who's in charge of making sure that your child becomes intelligent, who has a massive impact on their growth? Why would you be comfortable with them also having to work another job on top of that? Like, isn't that like a weird thing? That'll just take away from their ability to teach. It's going to overload like their general stress capacity, because everybody has like a general stress capacity. You know, we're all a bucket. We're all a bucket of water, and all the stressors of life are water, and everybody's bucket has a hole in it. And the bigger your hole, the more you're able to reduce your stress. But not everybody has the same stress hole reduction. So, you know, you don't want to pour too much stress into that bucket, you know?
They're living like. Do you see the story in New York about the apartment that had no heat, so they had to run a fucking space heater in the hallway?
Yeah, and it fucking
burned down and killed 18 people. I bet there are.
Well, at least there were 18 homeless people. You know what I mean? At least it weren't anybody important. I'm sorry, that's a terribly insensitive joke.
People, I could pick out people that would fit your benchmark of someone who's doing everything right, who's like doing what they're supposed to, whatever that means. You would find enough people, and they still got fucked because this is a brutal country, even for people who are ostensibly doing everything right.
Yeah, plenty of people who work super fucking hard. Most people, I would say, even that work super fucking hard, are never going to get above, they're never going to actually fucking reach financial security, not because they haven't worked hard enough or smart enough, but simply because they're fucking spawn point. Like they were born they got fucked. They were born into an immigrant family, or they were born overseas and then their parents had to come here illegally and offer a better life for them, but they haven't been able to reach that financial security. That budget shortfall is built into their existence. There's nothing you can do about it. And
I will say one thing. I do wish people from a more conservative perspective would just say how they feel. I don't know exactly how Christian Walker feels, but if you're a conservative and you're like against some of these different things, like against some of these like welfare programs, safety nets, if you just said, I really just don't care about poor people, I think that they're losers, I would accept that as a logically consistent answer, even though I disagree. But a lot of times people tend to dance around the like, I just don't care about homeless people because they're losers. I disagree with that statement, but like, just say it. Just say, I think less of people who are homeless or who are poor. Just fucking say it. If you're too afraid to diminish people, which you should be, then maybe your overall ideology is not good. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe like saying fuck poor people is dumb, but they won't just say fuck poor people. Just say fuck poor people at this point. Just be honest about it. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, reality is like, look, I come from a relatively affluent background. You come from a very affluent background. So this is not something that you've probably encountered, but being poor, especially when I was living on my own, being poor is very expensive. I had to fucking do some crazy shit to be able to like get this amount of protein that I need to fucking consume after working out. Like I would get like expired chicken. You know what I mean? I lived in a fucking kitchen of a frat house. Not to say that like I made it so everyone else can or whatever the fuck. And I still had a fuckload of advantages in comparison to most other people that are in similar circumstances.
I feel like, I mean like, okay, let's keep going.
But I know for a fact that like there are so many people who aren't able to get that leg up, that aren't able to.
It's like, I just feel like this isn't the same type of poor as a poor person experiences. Like he was talking about his experiences of not having a ton of resources when he was in college for a bit. And then he got an internship at the Young Turks because his uncle got him a job. And like, I don't know. It's just weird to hear Hasan try to identify with poverty. Okay, whatever.
Ever reach any sort of point beyond financial insolvency because they had to fucking, they're saddled with debt.
Yeah, I don't think that he has like a good understanding of being poor, you know? Like I don't think he's ever had to truly worry. I mean, he's always basically had a job opportunity set up. Like even me, like I could talk about like I was with somebody who had an autoimmune disease. They couldn't work. They had like a lot of struggles. They wouldn't go on like any type of welfare program. It was really rough, and I worked a job. I was still lived at home, so it wasn't super bad. But like I was hemorrhaging money every week, and like we would just consume a lot of fast food. It's a very complicated issue to get into because there's like a lot of. I'm not going to go into like my relationship drama. And like even that's not the general poor experience because I still had enough money to have a car. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying here? And like especially if you're like, oh, couldn't get enough protein in for after your workouts. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. Is that what he was talking about?
You know for a fact that like there are so many people who aren't able to get that leg up, that aren't able to ever reach any sort of point beyond financial insolvency because they had the fucking I made it so everyone else can expired chicken. You know, crazy shit to be able to like get this amount of protein that I need to fucking consume after working out. Like I would eat.
Yeah, like the fact, like no offense, but like working out in and of itself is a first world thing. Like not like first world, but like if you're able to go to the gym and work out, you have time in your day to work out. And like, oh, I have to consume more food than the average person. Like, then you're not really in like a dire strength situation. You know what I'm saying? And like, it just seems like a little bit weird. Especially since protein powder is super cheap per gram of protein. You know, so I doubt you're eating expired chicken because that's really bad for you. But you get my point.
Similar circumstances, but I know for a fact that like there are so many people who aren't able to get that leg up, that aren't able to ever reach any sort of point beyond financial insolvency because they had the fucking, you know, they're saddled with debt. Because they went to college. They're saddled with debt because they have a shitty parent, like Felix mentioned. They're saddled with debt because medicine. That's the most insane part. They're saddled with debt because they just, you know, they don't have healthcare. So
be healthy, bitch.
the hospital, some shit happened. And now they're fucked for the rest of their life. That's insane. That's a bullshit system. That's not the wealthiest country on the planet. That's the worst country. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I do think that we don't talk enough about like how unhealthy people eat, which is part of a government problem because they don't really advocate for better food. Like I feel like the FDA, fast food is poison, and they let you eat it in such a great. But part of that's cultural as well. We're eating poison. We're less active because of computers. There's no real good incentivization to work more or work out and stuff like that. You know, we don't really instill that in our kids at a young age. So.
See how much we have.
But like, it would be a lot cheaper to implement free healthcare or universal healthcare if people weren't so fucking unhealthy. I'm one of them. I get it, but you know what I'm saying.
Could afford to do for our citizens, and yet we refuse to do so. It's bullshit. Also, yeah, the idea that like welfare makes people lazy is just ridiculous. It's like it's been disproven time and time again.
I feel like it's just not been disproven time and time again. I feel like that's just like it's a very bizarre thing. So it depends on the kind of thing. I don't think that everybody on welfare is lazy. I think that there's a lot of people who are on welfare that work really hard to maintain themselves, but it depends on the kind of welfare you have. I mean, especially if you're born into welfare, it gives you bizarre expectations, and there are a lot of people know how to play the system. I'm not saying everybody on welfare like is lazy at all. I just feel like if you were able to go on a system. And this is one of the problems I have with the system. If they gave you money, I mean, everybody gets lazier overall, honestly, in the United States. Well, just in general, because technology makes people lazy. Like back in the day, things were just harder. Everybody technically gets lazier. Like back in the day, if you wanted to like fucking pull concrete out of the ground, you'd have to like use a pickaxe and whatnot. Now you could use like a fucking whatever that bullshit's called. Everybody gets generally lazier. But if you're on a particular program that allows you to live off of that program, that requires you so you don't have to work so as much, like yeah, it's gonna make you lazier, I guess. I don't really care. Everybody gets lazier, but I feel like it's just a weird thing to bring up.
Yeah, nope, you haven't changed my mind.
It's okay.
Okay, that was fun. I like that conversation. It's interesting because I'm looking up the poor people that makes you lazy argument. So what they said was that most notably, I'm reading into the welfare thing. Most notably, a 2015 meta study of cash programs in poor countries found no systemic evidence that cash transfer programs discourage work. So like that's not good enough evidence to say that welfare doesn't make you lazy. And here's why. It's paint time, right? So if you give somebody who grew up working really hard, so you have parent number one, right? We're just going to say parent number one. If this person's really struggling and during their growth, they had no, and this seems to be what the study is based off, they had no financial incentives or any type of program to utilize, like some kind of social safety net, and you give them like a welfare program, they still maintain their, what was it called? Their values. They keep their values, right? They keep their values. When you have like the kid number one, the value, that looks like a W. So they maintain their values, right? We're going to put a little check mark there. maybe I shouldn't use values, but anyway. Then you have parent, like kid, like the next person. So that's their kid, right? They have access to the welfare, so they don't really have to develop the same values as the other person. So that value level, where we'll use it like up here, the value level is up here. It's a 5. We'll call it value level 5. Well, this value level might be like level 4 because they have more dependency on the welfare. They don't have to worry as much, which is a generally good thing. Then you have their kid, and they're still living off of welfare. So like they still have their value. So like they'll have value level 3 potentially. So their values are going to shift around, like the necessity to work and the fear of not having to work. Now I understand people shouldn't be in fear and not being able to live. Like I'm for a universal basic income, but I think it's like weird to suggest that robust welfare systems don't generally make people lazy, especially the people who are on it generationally. Like right now, if I lost my job and I had to go on like some kind of welfare program or like unemployment or whatever, I would be ashamed to an extent. I'd be kind of ashamed. So I'd want to go out and get a job and use my skill set. People who, maybe generation number 1 isn't able to find a job, and they're able to ride the welfare system, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that we have welfare, because overall it's a positive experience. It's still money going into the economy. Well, their kid's not going to have as much, like, they're not going to worry as much about getting a job, so they're not going to be as incentivized to get. You don't understand what I'm saying? So, like, I think generationally, like, welfare does make people lazy. Sure, it doesn't mean we should get rid of welfare. I just don't like the idea. It's like, oh, welfare doesn't make, because it's like commonsensically it does. And like the studies that you're referencing are studies that suggest like, oh, well, when we gave poor countries that had like hardworking values money, it didn't immediately cause them to become lazy. It's like, what a fucking hot take. It's like, okay, but we're not talking about in like a one instance thing. Like obviously people that grow up with different fears, like if you don't have to grow up with a fear of like, if you're on welfare and you don't have to fear not being able to eat, obviously you're going to be a little lazier. That's still a good thing, right? Again, we're all lazier. I'm sitting in my house right now playing, like working from a computer. I don't have to go to work because of technology. Everybody's getting lazier because of technology. I just don't like the general prescription of like, it doesn't make people lazier. I think it does. It makes people dependent. Yeah. And I don't think our welfare necessarily breeds dependence or independence, especially the way that we operate in our welfare, especially in poor areas. I don't think it provides enough opportunity in poor areas. It kind of just keeps you in like a placeholder. Either way, that was a pretty good video. It was nice to see that. It's nice to see Hasan, even if I disagree with some of the things he said, it's nice to see him talk to somebody. I wish he would have talked to somebody a little bit more educated on social issues. It seems like Hasan kind of stays away from that, which is a little disappointing. Like maybe somebody like a little bit more, like, I don't know, somebody like maybe not the Hassans and the Ethan Kleins of the world aren't the greatest people to push back against what you have to say, but it was still a pretty good faith conversation. So I thought that was great.